free time, he volunteers as a youth soccer coach in Taos and works with other local organizations towards fostering positive change in the community. After high school, Joaquin hopes to pursue college at Georgetown University and study international relations.
If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Joaquin will go and lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know, right? No.
It is respectful to recognize the unique and enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous people and their traditional territories. We acknowledge that we are on the historic homeland of the Red Willow people within the original territory of Taos Pueblo. This acknowledgement will oblige you as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to respectfully recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Red Willow people whose land and water we benefit in this great valley today.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Item 5 is approval of the meeting agenda. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda? Other than what we spoke about. The board entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'll second. Got a motion from Vice President and a second for myself.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Gray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Item 6 is public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak during public comment? Do we have anybody online? If you're online, please raise your hand. I think we have Mr. Hollard. Did you wish to speak, Mr. Hall?
Generation Justice is the Katie William program hosted by youth age 16 to 25. It was announced at the beginning of this past Sunday broadcast. Quote, Generation Justice is recruiting for our 2025 summer program, youth ages 16 to 25, who apply and get accepted will experience every aspect of radio production while serving the community through interviews, roundtable discussions, videos, and blogging. Internship opportunities will be available to some. For any questions or to learn more, email admin@generationjustice.org or call 505-277-1831. The past Sunday broadcast featured an interview with New Mexico District 12 Senator Linda Lopez. She spoke of her work and advocacy during the recent legislative session. Including the interviewer asked, quote, why is it important for you to be engaged in understanding the legislative process? Senator Lopez responded that decisions made at all levels of governance are important. Federal, state, city, municipality, county, school boards all require the attention and engagement of the community individually and collectively, and that voices of the community are important. He said, quote, I believe our youth need to pay attention to this, learn how important their voice is, learn to talk to us as legislators, city councilors, county commissioners, school board members, U.S. congressional persons too. I ask for everyone to please get engaged. I still believe that there's opportunity for us to do the right thing in government. Democracy is participation. Don't let anybody take your voice away, ever. I suggest a good place to begin civic engagement for anyone of any age is with an understanding of local ordinances and resolutions, as well as state statutes and resolutions. If you can't understand what you read, then you need to challenge your lack of understanding. That is, challenge yourself, summon the courage to ask, what does the law mean? Why can't I understand? Why can't I understand laws that govern my life? Questions of language, words, of sentence construction, of legal concepts. Without a basic understanding of law, that is, lacking a voice that resonates with understanding, I say you willingly abandon the opportunity to participate meaningfully in a democratic society. You abandon the potential for agency and standing. You abandon the search for truth. for anybody that's interested in any of the youth interested in this program, I say that I'd like you to approach it not from the point of, wow, this is novel, this is new, this is exciting, there's all this technology. Think about what you're after. You're after substance, and as far as I'm concerned, substance is understanding and truth. And without that understanding and truth, we have evidence of what we will face in the present federal administration. Our administration does not speak the truth, and they are not clear in what they are saying. They use language to confuse and distract. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rawls. Any other members of the public? Did we have anybody online? Did we?
No, sir.
Nobody online? So we'll go ahead and move on from public comment at this time to item 7, recognitions. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Antonio Layton to lead us in the recognitions of the agenda.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board. So tonight we have the first, we will be recognizing our Taos Municipal Schools Teachers of the Year. We will also be announcing our Taos Municipal School District Elementary and Secondary Teacher of the Year, as well as recognition of our high school principals. So what I would ask the board, so we are going to take a few photos, if y'all wouldn't mind coming up to the right, I will show you where, so we can take a few photos right afterwards, as I go up to the podium and announce our Teachers of the Year.
Thank you, Superintendent Layton. Yeah, Superintendent will let us know when we go there.
Tonight again, the first of many, and we are very proud to announce the following as Teachers of the Year that were named and selected by their peers at each of the school sites. So at this time, Board President, Vice President Sprague, members of the board, if I can ask y'all to follow Maria real quick up there. So up first, we'd like to recognize the Taos High School Teacher of the Year, Christine Garcia. Unable to be here with us tonight, but still we would like to recognize Taos Cyber Magnet Teacher of the Year, Maria Chavez. Up next, we have Taos Middle School Teacher of the Year, David Gilmore. Mr. Gilmore, I'm gonna ask you to stand right up here because it is a unique year, especially since it's our first, that at our Royals del Norte Elementary, Teacher of the Year is his wife. It was
I found her notes on the floor. And I just been-
And last but not least, Ranchos Elementary Teacher of the Year, Natalie Salazar. Oh, did I miss Enos? My apologies. Oh, and it's. And now, last but not least, we have from Enos Garcia Elementary, Miss Lisa Randall. And so, of course, each teacher here is a representation of the best that we have in our district. But having such, one of the things that we added this year was a committee that was put together to select a district elementary teacher of the year and a district secondary teacher of the year. So nobody knows it, by the way, besides Anna, myself, and HR right now. So to announce the first Taos Municipal Schools District Elementary Teacher of the Year, we have we have Yeah. You want to announce it, President Flores?
Mrs. Elizabeth Gilroy.
And now we will announce the Taos Municipal Schools first ever district secondary teacher of the year. And we have from Taos High School, Christine Garcia. Congratulations, teachers, family. If y'all want to come and take some pictures, more than welcome to come.
They're competing with Valentine's Day.
Mother's Day, you gotta have.
I know, we gotta do that.
A little bit more gas. Okay, ready, one, Nice job.
You stay up there.
Thank you, teachers. We really appreciate the hard work and dedication you give to our students each and every day. This past May 1st was National Principals Day. So we do want to recognize our principals tonight as well. Up first, we have Taos High School Principal, Ms. Emmy Martinez Herrera. Unable to be with us tonight, we do have Taos, we want to recognize Taos Cyber Magnet, Carla Martinez. Next, Taos Municipal School, Ms. Linda Martinez. Arroyo Norte Elementary Principal, Dr. Anthony Medina. Enos Garcia Elementary Principal, Nicole Moratencio. And I can say this for sure, last but not least, Ranchos Elementary Principal, Dr. Madeline Sedlamar. Maybe my chin.
Good job. Stay up there so I can get a picture of all of you. Ready? And.
Principals, thank you so much for your hard work and dedication.
Thank you.
Quick, before everybody leaves,
You better get the plug in.
on behalf of the board, moments like this, it's hard to find the right words to express, but I really want to thank all of the teachers, the spouses and the families that support our teachers and the colleagues. Being a teacher is a one tough job. I think we all are well aware of that. But the work that our teachers and the families that support these individuals is very instrumental for our community and the kids that they reach out and touch every day. Teachers are true leaders within our community, and without dedicated teachers, our country would be even in a different state than what it is right now. And you're teaching and leading the way to create those leaders that will lead us as we age and far into the future. And I just want to see if the board has any comments that they would like to express to our teachers of the year and our principals.
My thought is you're unsung heroes.
Definitely.
You're heroes to the children that you see every single day. And with the parents, I know that they applaud you. And they're there to support you because it is quite the role. My father was a teacher, so I knew the passion that he had for students, and I could appreciate what he brought to the kids, and then when he was home, he did the same for us as our parents. So, but thank you so much, because you're not only teaching, you have your families that you care for, and I thank you from our community that applauds you.
Yeah, I echo, our board member, President Mark, as well as Susan. It's very noble. They said there's two noble, in regards to, callings. One's a nurse and one's a teacher. So, my wife's a teacher as well, and I know the passion she has. Sometimes it goes, not noticed, but we do notice it. I know my 5th grade, 4th grade teacher, I remember their names, and it makes a difference. So thank you guys, and thank you for making the difference in our community.
No, but actions speak louder than words. I think he deserves. I think they think.
I also, just one last comment, want to thank Superintendent Layton and his administration for doing this recognition. I think it's well overdue. We recognize teachers throughout the school year, but this has been a first, and we as a board appreciate it, and I think the community appreciates the recognition of our teachers, our hardworking staff, and their families. So thank you all, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
You're right, man, he's got it going. Yeah.
I met him at the balloon show.
Well, David's mom and dad are teachers.
I know they weren't. Mr. Gilroy was a science teacher. Did they go up the unit? I saw him at the track meet.
It's awesome. So jealous with the flowers. It's done. It's so good. So
Thank you,
good.
Superintendent Layton.
Yeah, good job.
Okay, so we'll move on with the business at hand. Item 8 is consent agenda. We have a total of 6 items on the consent agenda. Does the board have any questions or request to remove any of the items for discussion?
No, I don't.
I'm hearing none. Superintendent Layton, do you have a recommendation for the 6 items under the consent agenda?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, I recommend the approval of the consent agenda as presented for 8.1. Title II A application for Taos Municipal Schools in the preliminary amount of $17,530.22. 8.2 out-of-state travel for Taos High School students with Gear Up for New Mexico Tribal College bus tour. 8.3 out-of-state travel for Taos High School cheer staff and team requesting to attend skills camp at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas. 8.4 donation from the Lord Foundation to Taos High School for $10,000 worth of supplies for Makerspace final installment. 8.5 donation of Taos High School Booster Club to the Taos Municipal Schools for Taos Athletic Enhancement Fund to complete the Taos High School weight room in the amount of $20,000. And 8.6 consideration approval of the following minutes, January 22nd, 2025.
Would the board like to entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
No second.
We have a motion for approval from Vice President and a second from Secretary.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Item 9 is presentations. 9.1 is the Taos High School speech and debate presentation. Mr. Joaquin Rose and Miss Elia Hurtado. There was some information that was presented to us by Mrs. Hurtado for this presentation.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, I just wanted to bring up these young men and women, Mr. Rose and Ms. Hurtado. They asked if they could present, and as part of their speech and debate final. And so they picked some topics that are close to their heart. And so they had requested if it was possible to present. And so they're here to present, and we'll start off by Mr. Rose.
Thank you all for being here today. I'm Joaquin Rose, a junior at Taos High School. And I first want to say thank you to you guys for the endless contributions you've made towards ensuring that all Taos Municipal Schools students have a pathway to success, because I truly believe that exists. So thank you. I will begin with recognizing the importance of having the exceptional teachers that are present in this district. And then I will explain how further collaboration with local organizations can better help students figure out what the right next step for them is. So unfortunately, in the Taos community, it seems like a lot of times Taos Municipal Schools gets a bad rap about its teachers, which personally I could not see farther from the truth. I know from my experience at Taos High School, but I'm sure this applies to all the other teachers at the various schools in the district, that there are teachers going well above and beyond their normal teaching roles, and truly that's commendable. There are teachers at Taos High School who are offering tutoring times at any hour of the school day, whether that be at lunch, after school, or even if you're stuck on a problem or work, you can text them. They give their own phone numbers so that you can reach out if you need extra support. Additionally, there are teachers preparing students for advanced placement tests and in a way that they can succeed and achieve the highest scores possible. And spending hours long into the night ensuring that they are on track to ensure that their students get all the necessary materials they need to succeed. Additionally, there are teachers who truly just care about getting to know their students and being personable and understanding what it's like to live the challenging lifestyle of a high schooler today. And almost more importantly, there are teachers who offer support as mentors, who are there if you need support, whether it be in school or outside of school, and who are truly there to support their students and care about them in a way that's truly commendable. So I wanted to begin by recognizing how amazing all of the staff in this district are, because I think that goes understated. Next, a lot of times students, I know, I hear it a lot in school, that students feel like there's no way they can succeed coming out of a small town like Taos. But that too, I've realized as I've grown, and there's moments where you feel that way, but as you grow, you realize that there have been so many students who have gone on to do excellent work, whether that be going to Ivy League institutions. There's been a Rhodes Scholar. There's been students going on to get doctorates, whether that be medicine or other doctorates. Students at other top institutions, students who are leading in their careers, leading tech roles, foreign ambassadors, and even students who have developed successful careers in trades or non-college route. So truly, there are a plethora of examples of students who have succeeded coming out of the Taos Municipal Schools. Lastly, unfortunately, students are poor self-advocates. As everyone knows, self-advocacy is a skill that's very difficult to learn, and many students truly don't have it. And also, very few students know where they want to go with their next step in life. So for some people, college is the right option, but also there's a lot of students who feel trades or apprenticeships or another career is the best fit for them. And a lot of them truly don't know what's out there. Now, in the Taos community, there's lots of organizations that have this entire role to help students find that next step. There's organizations like Bridges and Workforce Solutions, to name a few. But unfortunately, students are poor self-advocates, as I mentioned, and likely and usually avoid reaching out to truly get the support, even though they're the perfect fit to be aided by these organizations. So some potential ways that this could be improved, even though there are already exceptional work being done in this way, some potential ways it could be improved would be to potentially have teachers provide the connection. If, say, a teacher has a student who's very interested in being a welder, that teacher could then reach out to someone from a local organization and say, hey, I have a student interested in this, you should talk to them. And then that helps bridge the gap. And if that organization then reaches out to the student, it'll better support them. And it'll make the student feel as though, oh, there's people who can help me have a next step. Also, when these organizations are presenting around the schools, it would be amazing if they could book appointments with the students right then and there. Because if you wait and let this hope the students will do it on their own, usually they unfortunately will not without extra support. So by doing that, it would allow students to even feel more confident that there is a pathway for them, whatever that be. And it will continue to ensure that all Taos High students have the opportunity to achieve success and improve upon that even greater than the already exceptional work that's being done. So thank you. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you to all the teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
Good afternoon, board members, educators, and members of the public. My name is Alira Hurtado, and I am a freshman at Taos High School. What if I told you that there is a sure way to improve test scores, improve academic performance, decrease mental health issues, improve health as a whole, decrease tardiness, and prevent car crashes? All this can be achieved with one simple solution and not cost a dime: changing our school start times. I propose that the elementary start times are switched with the high school and middle school start times, leading to an 8:30 or 9 o'clock start for high school and middle school and a 7:45 start for elementary. This would help with bus routes. I am aware that some problems may arise, however, these can be easily addressed. I will first talk about the benefits of changing our school start times. I will then address any problems or objections that may arise, that however have simple solutions. The American Medical Association and American Association of Pediatrics both recommend the earliest start time for high school students is 8:30. This aligns with their natural circadian rhythms, which is when they fall asleep and wake up, which is for high school students later to bed and later to rise. With the way our school system is set up, this makes it very difficult for them to get the sleep that they need. It is recommended that high school students need around 9 hours of sleep, 8 to 9, 8 to 10. However, only about 9% of the teenage population is getting this amount. Something that we definitely need to address if we want to have a greater education in mind, which we do great at providing, and I just seek to enhance some more. Research as early as the 1990s has shown that teenagers tend to feel the need to fall asleep around 11 o'clock, very late in the day, I know, and their brains fully wake up around 8 o'clock. They are oftentimes expected to start testing at this time. Imagine being you yourselves waking up at 5:30 and having to go and take a very important test. Very difficult, I know. But we can work to ensure that this doesn't have to happen. Problems that may arise include bus routes, work shifts, and sports. These do not have to be problems. We can address that. As for bus routes, as I previously suggested, if we switch the elementary start times with the high school and middle school start times, this can lead to problems not being in the way. The bus routes would remain the same, simply being done at different hours of the day. If the elementary bus routes run longer than the high school and middle school bus routes, we can simply push the start time to even earlier or later. As for work shifts, parents have concerns that they will have children unattended. Well, we have buses that can take them to school in the morning, and this is generally accessible to most people. There's no problems even now, so it really won't make that much of a difference. As for later in the day or after school, we have a great after-school program here in the Taos Municipal Schools, and I myself have personally experienced that. So that is not too much of a problem, I hope. Another problem, which doesn't have to be a problem, is sports. Many people are like, well, why should we push back practices and games? It'll just be too much effort, too much going on. But this can be a good thing because coaches have other careers and some of them work 9 to 5, jobs like that. They can stay and work longer and be more productive, and then this just benefits everyone in the situation, just helpful to the whole community. I myself have a problem with our current school schedule because I have a very busy schedule, and oftentimes I get home at 8 or 9 o'clock, sometimes 11 from games and other activities. And then I have to wake up the next day at 6 because I live very far away, and if I want to get to school on time, I have to get up early. So this is how this personally affects me. I'm aware that many people before have brought this issue to either this school board or school boards in the past. And I wanted you to hear my perspective as a student athlete with many activities going on. Use my voice, just let you guys know what's going on. So please consider my proposal to move the high school and middle school start times from 7:45 to 8:30 or 9. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Does the board have any questions? Secretary Trio? You have a question?
No, I do.
Oh,
Just a comment. The 8 to 10 hours of sleep that a child needs. I remember, my pediatrician for my children would say, you just let them sleep because they're growing. And again, their brain recharges during that sleep time. So it's very critical that they get 8 to 10 hours of sleep at night.
It definitely is. Any other questions?
I would like to just thank you for bringing this forward to the board. This has been a topic of discussion in the previous board meetings. One of an idea that just came to my mind and superintendent, would it be possible that maybe we could get a community survey or a student survey out just to gauge the thoughts from the majority? There was a concern of parents having to drop their children off later and having to be at work by 8 AM and so forth, and how that was impacting parents getting to work. It was actually asked of me if we could start school earlier, but I think that's more from an adult perspective, and we really need to listen and focus on how it affects our students.
Yeah, I think people just need to be more aware as well. But it's a conversation that definitely needs to be had, and thank you guys for considering.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I think will be considered moving forward. Thank you for your time and presenting us with the information. I'll definitely will encourage the board and myself to spend some time to look at it.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so
Thank you,
much.
Mr. Taro. Mr. Rose.
Yeah.
Does the board have any questions or comments for Mr. Rose? I would just like to thank you for speaking on behalf of the teachers and acknowledging their hard work. It is definitely a difficult task being a student and being a teacher. I don't think that our students get enough credit also for all the challenges that they face today. They have to get up in the morning, go to school, stay focused, peer pressure, outside. what's the word outside,
Also interference.
yeah, outside interference, there you go. Yeah. So I just want to thank you for getting out here and speaking to the board. I really appreciate it. I did, I think, spend a semester in speech and debate when I was at Taos High School. And it was I really enjoyed the class when I first, I think I was a freshman, signed up for it. I didn't really know what I was getting into. But it helped me become a better debater with my wife. So, you know, I didn't think that I would be here today as a school board member also, and I think speech and debate is a very important subject and, public speaking, important topics, everything that it encompasses. So I really, want to commend you and your peer, Mrs. Hurtado on your guys' achievements. Superintendent?
I just wish the best for both of you, because I know this was a final grade. So I just hope your presentation was absolutely what you expected. And of course, hopefully you get the best grade possible.
And more than anything, thank you to you guys, because you guys and the teachers, I know you guys don't hear that enough. So truly, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think the Sylvie wants to speak about our kids.
Superintendent Layton, school board members, members of the community. I just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to put yet again our students at the forefront of what we do and to highlight their opportunity to speak to the adults in our community that make very important changes on behalf of students. And both of you, they worked really hard to communicate with me, then to communicate with Dr. Layton about how this was all going to work out. But thankfully, there weren't many roadblocks at all. It was just scheduling and getting them here. So I thank you both very much for what you said tonight and what you said to our community and teachers. And thank you. So great job. Thank you all.
Thank you both. So maybe we could look at a survey. A survey on, well, just to see what the kids and the teachers think and the parents. I'd be interested to know. Item 9.2 is the National School Board Association Conference report. We got the board member King, who took a trip to Atlanta to the National School Board Association, and he's going to share a little bit about that experience with the board and with the community.
Great.
Would you like to start with the photos or the video?
The video, please.
We are here in Atlanta, Georgia for our 85th anniversary. 49 states are represented, the US Virgin Islands, Washington DC, and guess what? Also Canada. And why are we here? We are walking through. We are here in Atlanta, Georgia for our 85th anniversary. 49 states are represented, the US Virgin Islands, Washington DC, and guess what? Also Canada. And why are we here? We are walking through history, not just for NSBA, but for our country. We're grateful to have people here that care about children and excited for the opportunity to learn and grow and network with each other in Atlanta, Georgia.
Sing that part. Yes. It was 30 seconds rehearsal. We had them. Yeah, not even actually. That's the best time we've ever played that song.
Board members, not only to attend some of the sessions that we have attended, but the excitement of just our school district is finally coming here at a conference where our students can engage and know what we do as school board members.
NSBA is an organization that really brings out the best in people, makes you realize and invigorates you, what your motivation is. Coming to these conferences is a way to kind of reignite you, the fire in you, because the majority of people here, they're here for the right reason, they're here because of the kids. And that's why we come to these conferences.
Appreciate it. So, to our fellow board members and, the audience and, all the directors, it was really neat. I've never been to any national anything. And like you said at the end of the, presentation, we're here for the kids. And, you know, people in different parts of the country, how they do things, the sessions. And, superintendent, asked, how was it? And I really didn't have any, in regards to aha moments. It seems like House Municipal School District is on the right path. The superintendent shared with us some great, books to read, you guys have heard of, our, board retreat that we're gonna be working on student outcomes. And I believe that there's different ways of actually getting to the top of the mountain. And I believe that it was great to see and hear and be affirmed. And it's amazing, 85 years that they've been in existence, and we have a network. And I thank superintendent, I thank President Mark, the support of the board making this possible. I hadn't been in Atlanta since 1974 when I was 10. So it was neat to go back and actually see the city and just to see everyone trying to do good on behalf of the kids. So I think that's a question.
You were giving out the registration.
Yeah, it was how it all came about. Audience, board members, and we were at a law conference in Santa Fe, guys, and the lady who began the session, I said Miss Virginia from Baltimore. She was in corrections and she had no kids, joined the school board, was elected, and she said, I'd rather try to deal with kids on this level versus her profession of in regard to correction officer. So she said, I'm gonna give away a free registration in Santa Fe. And I guess we asked her a couple of questions and she forgot. And our Powake Vecinos, our neighbor, Mr. Jerome Lujan, Ben's brother, who's a vice president, he says, no one took her up on that. You need to go get that registration. So we saved the district about $1,000 and the district made it possible. So it was, you know, once again, all of us trying to show love for the kids. And I encouraged the board to go to the national. We had 60 delegates from New Mexico, guys. We had so many that after the first session, you saw those girls singing. There was a choir from Atlanta, an all-girls school. We all went up on the stage with the Zia flag and we had a picture taken. So 60 for a rural state that we have, that was beautiful to see. I didn't see many states. Oregon came after us, but there's a lot of love in our state and, you know, we have to be hardy and accountable. And I believe that we are.
Thank you, Board Member King. I just want to commend you for getting out of the box per se and going to the national conference. I believe in the time I've been on the board, you're the first board member to attend the national conference. And I think it's very important to get that exposure and to collaborate with other school districts, see things on a national level, bring that back to our small town. Definitely, I'm sure it was invigorating. You heard a lot of topics that probably sparked some interest, and I'm very thankful for your service on the board and the service that you perform to our community. And it's, you know, through experiences like that we become better elected officials, better public advocates, and definitely we'll try to get out there maybe next year.
Yeah, I talked to Mark Space, you guys, some of you guys remember. I think it was Bo Shane that went, and in regard to Dr. Space, he presented the following year, actually at Nationals. He said, Keith, he has come back to Taos. You guys sometimes may see him walking on the bypass. So there was, maybe before you, President Mark, but it's just nice to, as we have our leadership conference coming up in June, you get ideas, someone shared with me. I go, I can't always look at my computer. You know what he said? Your phone. So now my phone is hooked up to the district, my email, and boom, as soon as I get a new email, I get a message. So there's ideas being shared. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Board Member King. Superintendent, any comments?
I just want to thank the board for the support, because whatever knowledge you gain from the national level is what we bring out here and see what we can implement to our district. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And definitely want to encourage staff. I know that staff attends conferences quite regularly. I think it's important that we extend and provide those opportunities to staff to get out whenever possible to see how people are doing things differently and bring that back. Moving right along, our next presentation is item 9.3, approval of the fiscal year 23-24 financial audit. Audrey Jaramillo with Jaramillo Accounting Group. I believe she is joining us virtually, correct?
Members of the board, we have Scott here tonight, who is speaking on behalf of Audrey, and he's part of the.
All right, welcome aboard, Scott.
Thank you. Good evening, board, president, superintendent. My name is Scott Eliason, partner with Jaramillo Accounting Group, and Audrey was unable to make it tonight, but she sends her best to you guys. And so here I'm here to talk about the results of the annual audit, and that is required under the state audit rule. And so just some required communication I'm going to go through, and I see that everybody's got their financial statements that are, I don't know, it's like about 150 pages thick or something. They're pretty good size, partially because in these financial statements, there are also the 2 charter schools that are administratively attached to the district. So we as auditors are required under the state audit rule to also audit those 2 entities. And it was done essentially at the same time as the district's audit. So that's part of why these financial statements are so huge. And then secondly, the district has a lot of different funds, and every single fund gets presented in here. So if you take a look at all the different funding sources, for example, a school district like Taos gets, there have lots of federal funds, state funds, even local funds, capital projects funds, debt service funds. All of those individual funds get presented in here in these financial statements. And I think that's one thing that makes it a challenge for the district and in the business office to assist in preparation of these financial statements, because they have to reconcile every one of these funds, sometimes multiple times throughout the year, to catch any errors or any mispostings. And so it is a big job certainly for the district. I mean, you go through here and you just see pages and pages of all these different funds. And we could stay here all night. We could have booked a long session to go through all these numbers, but I know that you guys don't want to go through every number here. So I'll just kind of summarize a little bit here, things that we're required to talk about. So at the front, on page number one, unless you want. Okay, so on page number one starts the audit opinion itself. And I think just a couple of takeaways on the audit opinion. There's responsibilities in here that are listed in the audit opinion, and there's responsibilities of the auditor, and there's responsibilities, the auditee, the district. So one of the district's responsibilities of several is to design an effective internal control structure, and also take responsibility for the financial statements themselves. So we assist in the preparation of the financial statements. All these numbers that you see come from the district. Somehow, at some point, somewhere, they all come together. The auditor also has responsibilities, and that's to design and perform their audit to ultimately arrive at an audit opinion. And our audit opinion here is unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements themselves. Also, this opinion that covers a couple of pages talks about the federal awards. We'll talk about that just briefly in a bit. There's supplementary information, lots of supplementary information in here, of which the state audit rule requires a number of different schedules. We'll talk just really briefly about that. And then the audit itself, we really kind of view it as three pieces. So we have the financial statement audit, we have the compliance audit that's done in accordance with the state audit rule. So the state auditor publishes every year a rule. And in that rule, it sort of defines what the auditor is supposed to test for the different type of entity that the auditor is auditing. So in the case of the school district, for example, there's a series of statutes on the School Personnel Act. So we audit some of the material provisions of the School Personnel Act as part of our audit. There's things like, of course, as you would expect, procurement. That's part of the audit process, is to do a sample of procurement, look at the procurement process, make sure the district is following not only the internal district policy, but also the statewide policy when you're talking about 60,000 or more. So we look at procurement, we look at things like travel and per diem, we look at the ERB contributions to make sure that the district is picking up the employees and the employers piece and sending it over to ERB. Same thing with retiree healthcare. Make sure that we test the sample and kind of walk that through of those transactions too. And there's a whole number of sort of things that we do look at. I think those are the primary items, but probably I would say there's probably 8 areas under the state audit rule we look at. And then lastly is the federal audit. And so every year, because you receive sufficient federal funds for the threshold of audit, which is 750,000 for this year, and in 25 and 26, it'll go to $1 million as the threshold. But you guys will be well over the million mark. This last year, you were about 8 million in federal funds, of which 3 million were the ESSER funds. I think most of that's probably going to go away in the 25 audit. So you'll get back down to closer to your historical, probably $5 million or so of federal funds. But of course, you'll still have a federal audit this year, and the federal audits go through a rotation process where we look at different programs every year, and every couple of years, the larger programs get rotated back in. So typically it would be like Title I, Idea B, the food program. Those would probably be the 3 big ones that would get rotated in and out every year. And when you talk about the financial statements themselves, I would just go to page 4 as a starting point. And on page 4 is the full accrual financial statements. And starting with the balance sheet. So this picks up, and maybe a little bit of background here to start. School district itself is pretty close to a cash basis of accounting. They have some payroll liabilities that get roped into their processes, but it's pretty close to a cash basis. And then for the audit, we first convert those to a modified accrual basis, which picks up the accounts receivables and the accounts payables. And then there's a next process that converts those modified accrual statements to full accrual, which is this full accrual balance sheet that you'll see on page 4. And it picks up things like capital assets and debt and pension liabilities. And if you look, you'll see that you have a large amount of pension liabilities on here, for example. But they're really not the district's liabilities. But because the plan is underfunded, district picks up their pro rata portion of the unfunded pension liabilities and also the retiree healthcare liabilities. And then, of course, you'll see other things on here like capital assets for which there's a footnote in the back, and there's debt for which there's a footnote in the back. And you guys should certainly spend time, maybe late at night, reading this document. It's an interesting, at least for auditors, it's an interesting document. Tells a lot about the district and its financial position and such. And then we have what's called the sort of full accrual income statement, the statement of activities on page 5. And that just is a presentation of on a full accrual basis. But really what you guys work under is, you know, the funds, they start on page 6. So we have major funds up front, and in the back, we have the smaller funds. The one fund I would just talk about just for a minute would be the general fund, which is of course the general operating fund of the district, and that's where most all the transactions that flow through there, like the state appropriation and most of the teachers' salaries flow through the general fund, the general operating fund. That's the balance sheet, and then you can also see a couple other funds up here. I talked just a minute ago about the ESSER funds. You can see that they had a balance sheet there and an income statement that really starts on page 9. You can see the ESSER funds on page 9. That was the 3 million I was talking about, approximately 3 million. It's a major fund here because of the criteria used to, you know, move these funds around between major and minor. This one will certainly either go away, or I think it'll probably just move to a minor fund for fiscal year 25. Of course, you'll always have the general fund, and then you'll have probably some debt service funds. If you have capital projects going on, you'll have capital projects funds up front. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail on that. I'd say the next place to go is page number 14. That just has the accounting policies. Those 14 starts out the accounting policies, and that covers a number of pages. The different accounting policies, not going to get into those, just required policies and what you'd expect for a district like Taos. And then also in here, we have supplementary information that starts on page 51 that picks up some detail on the general funds. Then after that, I think you'll see that the non-major government funds, they start on page, really, I would say, starting on 67. And that's where starting on 67, that's where you'll find all the smaller funds. And they do go on for a long time because there are a lot of funds and funding sources. Every year, some new funds come in. One new fund I can think of, I can see on page 67 this last year, I think it was Universal Free Lunch. That there's some activity related to that, and that's a state fund. Was that yeah, that's a state fund. So there's always new funds every year. Some years the district might get 5 or 6 new funds. And then funds, once the funding source goes away and everything's spent, and there's no more budget for that fund, then they come back onto the financial statement. So if you go back a few years, you'll see different funds. And then in here, you'll also find the detail of the Nazi school and also Taos Charter School. And we're not here to talk about them, but they are in your financial statements. So any audit findings that relate to them take, I guess, some level of responsibility because they go into your financial statements in accordance with the audit rule. And then there's a whole bunch of other supplemental schedules that are required under the state audit rule. I think the next place I would just take you is, which page 111, which is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. And this just details out all of your federal awards that you get. So as I mentioned, Title I, You can see that's in there at 1.1 million. It looks like the special education cluster, the idea B, that's less than 600,000. So in a typical year, that probably would never get selected because it's below the current 750,000 threshold. And then we see the COVID monies. And then towards the bottom there, we see the total dollars that flow through the child nutrition cluster, the school lunch program. You can see that amount. That'll be something that get picked up at least every couple of years. And then page 113, the auditor wants us, the state auditor wants us to talk about the audit done in accordance with government auditing standards. And there's a report related to that. That's on 113. And that covers a couple of pages. Report on internal control over financial reporting. And the second page is on compliance and other matters. If there's any audit findings related to internal controls or compliance, you'll see just a real summary of the numbers here. And then we have those findings in here we'll talk about just in a minute. And then page 115 is the opinion on the federal awards for which we issue an unmodified or clean opinion. And then we start talking about audit findings. And remember, this is historical. So this is, 6/30/24 or before, and we're almost, it's almost audit season, isn't it? We're almost done with this year, so audit will be starting again soon. But remember, when it comes to findings, these conditions existed during the year or at year end. But they may not exist now. They may be completely resolved, maybe different findings. But the first place to look at 118, and you can see what the prior year findings are, that they are 5 of them listed here for the district, of which 3 were resolved and a couple, 2 were repeated. And actually there's an other matter that was resolved. And then you can see that there were a couple of what we call the accounting literature requires us to call the charter schools component units. So you'll see mentioned in the audit opinion of the component units. What a component unit, there's sort of some different definitions there. Like support or the administrative connection that you have. And PED actually made the decision about 15 years ago that the charter schools, if they're administratively attached to the school district, they go in your audit report. If they're administratively attached to the state, you'll find the PED's audit report. So for example, PED, I don't know, there's more than 50 charter schools attached to PED, so their report is a couple thousand pages long. Same with the Albuquerque Public Schools. I think they've had, historically something close to 50 of the charter schools. So, their financial statements will be multiple balance sets. That's some good reason. I'm going to skip 119 for just a minute and just talk about the districts audit findings. We have 5 to talk about, and I'll just talk about them briefly. Management does agree and is working on resolving those. The first one has to do with cash reconciliations. So this is defined as a material weakness because it was a material adjustment. There were some reconciliation issues, and then the Taos County issued an educational GRT bond for the district. So there's several districts mentioned that are part of Taos County in that GRT bond, and they're issuing it for you. It's your cash, though it's restricted for capital projects. So those should go in the financial statements. They did not in the initial trial balances we got. And so that was added in into the financial statements you see. So that missing amount really created the material finding and weakness, and management agrees and have recorded that. No cash that we're aware of was missing. We didn't see any mission cash. It was just more reconciliations and getting them in the books. The second one, purchase orders. Looks like there's a purchase order that was created after the invoice. So as we know, that should never happen. Should start with the requisition, then the purchase order, then the purchase, then the invoice when the goods or services are delivered and then paid. So that was out of order. It wasn't, we call it significant, only because it relates to purchasing. And there wasn't any issues with the actual purchase itself, other than the process that was done. And so I know the district continues to work on that. I mentioned the School Personnel Act on page 123. There's a finding related to the School Personnel Act on training. That's what we call other non-compliance. So any non-compliance or findings that we find, we're required to report them. Same thing on page 124, non-compliance and travel and per diem. Board member was booked at a hotel at a rate higher than allowed. You're in the statutory requirements. And then the last one was quarterly reports on the district website. That's another non-compliance. There's a requirement that all school districts have certain reporting requirements to do every quarter from the financial perspective, to put it on there. And then the other couple findings that I'm not going to talk about that are in here, you can see them. Procurement violations, for example, at one of the charter schools. I think both charter schools had some procurement violations that they could continue to work on, and there's a couple other findings, and so I know that they're working on resolving those. And then I said that there was one page that we're going to go back to. That's 114. One.
119?
Yeah, and that's the one page we go to. We only had 30 seconds to talk about the results of the audit. And that just gives you a summary of the results of the audit, the financial statement audit and the federal audit. Read that. That's again the one page. There was a 30 seconds to talk about that. That's what's required for us as auditors to talk about under the state audit rule, and be happy to answer any questions. But just remember, what you see here, all this is at this point is almost a year old. As far as historical information or any types of findings that reported on. But happy to answer any board members' questions that you might have.
Questions from the board?
I have a question.
Sure.
Thank you. On page 119, when it says significant deficiencies, what, can you describe that, please?
Sure. So there's three types of audit findings that you can have. And the most, we would call it the most severe, is material weakness. That is when there's something in your financial statements that could be misstated or was misstated initially after the auditors got the original trial balance. So that's because of the material adjustment that by default becomes a material weakness. And then the second type of finding, which is a little bit lower, is a significant deficiency. Significant, again, sounds like a strong word, but really all that means is it's something that we as auditors believe to be important enough to bring to the district's attention. And then the third type of audit finding from a control perspective is other matter. So an other matter is like a lower level of control deficiency that we observe either in a walkthrough or testing. And then, of course, there's also a material non-compliance and other non-compliance. So there's really sort of 5 different categories you can have as far as audit findings go.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, President Flores.
Secretary Chu?
And our finance department and the schools will have to, they'll see the criteria, they'll see the cause, and they'll have to respond. So within their response, they are encouraged to make those corrections so that they do not appear in the next audit, which would be the 2025. And our hope would be that it would be resolved.
Yes, that would certainly be I think everybody's hope that it would be resolved. Yeah, yeah, and so they did respond. That would be, finance, did most of the responses in here. But they did respond, they agreed, and they put forward a plan to go ahead and correct any deficiencies, that are mentioned in here.
And again, I think within the training that finance has been afforded by the contract. The contractors, the financial contractors. To me, it seems that an awareness of these monies, especially the ones that were not reported, that assumed to be Taos counties. Any dollars that come into our coffers are our monies, and they must be reported accordingly, correct?
That's correct. I think on the Taos County, it's a little different because the money doesn't actually come into the district. It's sitting over at the county in a county custodial fund for the benefit of the district, and the district is supposed to report that cash in their financial statements and on the P cash report, because at the end of the day, it's their cash restricted for capital projects.
Having a good understanding of that concept, that, and I think that what really helps sometimes if there is a question is that you all are contracted for the year. I mean, to be able to utilize
Oh, please, yes.
you
absolutely.
to
Pick up the
answer
phones
any
and,
questions
we're always
that
glad to
might
answer.
come up that we're not sure of. It would, to me, it's always helpful to be able to ask and not wait till the end of the year and assume that we were correct and yet not. And the Personnel Act, the same thing. Again, that's another audit finding that had what kind of and again, those.
It's a non-compliant.
Non-compliant,
Yeah.
yes. And again, those things need to be addressed and corrected so that they don't become a pattern that is repeated over and over again, because these are our employees. Correct?
Correct, and usually, when something like that gets missed, it's a result of maybe there's a process in the full transaction cycle that could be enhanced so that they don't get missed. That's usually what we see with non-compliance with statutes. If there's something wrong with the process itself that causes the non-compliance. So it may be just something that, made it inadvertently been missed, or maybe there was something in the process itself that needed to be enhanced, as part of the process.
Okay, I have another question. And that is, are our monies 100% collateralized?
You
not cash?
have pledged collateral.
Yeah, the pledge collateral?
That's not the requirement. It's only, the requirement is 50%.
I know,
of the uninsured.
50% by statute.
Yeah,
But
there's a
what is
schedule.
the percentage, do you know?
I don't know what, you have to go to the actual schedule in here. Find it.
Excellent.
It's on 103.
Page 3,
103.
103.
103. 103. That's collateral.
Do you think that will ever change?
The 50% requirement? Not unless the legislatures change the statute. Cash footnote here.
Okay, here it is. It's way back.
There it is.
The supplementary.
Looks like you actually were, fully collateralized, and, you'll see that on page 25. For example, the Centennial Bank audits were about 15 million, but you actually had almost 17 million in collateral pledge. In US Bank, that had well more than sufficient collateral too, so you were actually in an over pledged collateral position. That doesn't always happen. I don't know if that was by design or not, but most of the time, the banks don't like to pledge any more than they have to.
That had been noted a few years ago, and I believe that they upped
Okay,
it. And, but but this pledging, it says the name and location of safekeeper for above pledged collateral. There's $16,975,136. And that is, who gets the interest on this money that's collateralized?
well, it's they're pledging their investments, so they would be getting.
They would be getting the,
Yeah,
correct.
so typically, when the bank pledges, you don't really get, you either get very little interest or no interest.
Correct. As noted. And, let me see what else. I don't have, oh, what about the cash that we have sitting in the bank? How much money do we have cash sitting at the bank at the time of an audit?
On page 104.
Okay,
you list all the cash accounts.
the 18 million,
Yeah, and then there's probably additional cash accounts with the New Mexico Finance Authority. That's the actual cash advance.
okay, and I believe it, I asked the question of the state auditor's office that did a presentation for us at our last conference. And we can do our own investing off of this money's correct? Maybe to a mutual fund? And not a mutual fund, but maybe a money market or something?
There's certain things that you can invest in, yeah. And so you
Okay.
don't have to just leave it in the bank.
No, that's correct.
There are things you can do. You can buy, some districts buy certificates of deposits. And then they ladder those so that they mature at a different time. So if you have cash needs to ensure you have appropriate liquidity, that stuff will run off and then you convert it to cash without taking the penalty for the early withdrawal. Some districts do that. Some districts put money into money markets.
And the other is, because it is, this money would, in the money market, it's liquid and it can be accessed within 24 hours.
Yes.
And so that is a given, but when you think of what the rate of interest is on 18 million.
Probably not very much. And Connie might know more about
Well,
it, but it can't be very much.
Well, again, it's something, but it's a start
Yeah.
because I've seen it happen. And in 2022, I'm aware of, and it's made a significant difference. So to me, I think this is worth looking into. And let me see what else. And again, I'd like to say that we're relying on our financial contractors, their expertise to continue to guide us along in our financials. And because, did I see someplace where what is the threshold of having to depend on our auditors to prepare our financials?
Well, you have to have, the threshold would be that you have to take responsibility. And you have to have somebody that has the minimum skills, knowledge, and experience to accept that responsibility.
But what your firm does is you have someone else, if I read correctly, that oversees or.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
What-
Yeah. So there's a division of labor, so
Yes.
that we're not,
Yes,
auditing our own
your own
numbers.
numbers,
Yeah.
correct. We provide the numbers, you're auditing the numbers, but there's someone else that has it's looking at these numbers.
And assist in the preparation so that there's good division labor, so such that we don't make mistakes or take the wrong perspective so that, you know, because if you're doing your own work, and if you're doing your own testing, you're putting together the schedules, and then you're putting in your financial statements, if you do that all yourself, there's more of an opportunity to make mistakes and there's some consideration that you may not lose your independence.
Correct.
So.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. But thank you for all the hard work in preparing this.
They're the ones that.
And again, the
do all the hard
financial
work.
staff.
They just put it together.
Yes.
They work on it all year round.
Yes,
And
they do.
it is a ginormous amount of work to you know, with the school district, just because there's so many funds, so many funding sources, so much compliance, and of course, they have great friends over at the public education department that they have to work with all the time. Because there's a lot of reporting that they have to do the public education department, not just
And
the
please
office.
extend our, you know, the fact that we're just so grateful to, that you serviced us in this manner to prepare our.
Okay. It'll have, you know, all the snow melted. Yeah.
You too much time.
Thank you, Scott. I would like to ask Ms. Maestas if she could just briefly speak on what the district is doing to address the audit findings that were noted in the audit moving forward.
President Flores, members of the board, President Lincoln, so what we do is we collaborate with each team where the audit finding is at. So, you know, there was, depending which department it affects, we meet with them directly, we start training, we start talking to them to try to prevent more in the future, so. I have a lot of haters because we're holding everybody in compliance and a lot of people don't like the accountability, so. We have to continually find state statutes and what we're following, and so a lot of people want to know why. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to follow that? Well, we have to remind them that because of this, because of the audit finding is why we're kind of sort of hammering down our germs. So we've gotten a lot more strict now, and I've gotten my feet wet a little more. We're very strict in the finance office, and so we're holding a lot more people accountable. So we're making the proper moves, you know, to move forward, to be able to be better. So let's hope next year's audit is close to perfect, because we're not perfect, but.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, you know, an example would be like the procurement violation forms that we have. So now, anytime there's a violation of it, we hold our staff accountable. I have to review them at the very end, and so we look for patterns. If we see any patterns, we address them specifically with our employees. But that's one form. Another one is just like the last time we reported, in particular, how there's a cover form that comes to my office now that allows the finance department to see that it has passed here at the board meetings, and they will not move forward until that form is in their office.
Correct.
So that's an example of how we're moving forward.
And another example is, remember the truck issue where that one got? So now we have a whole process now to where before it even comes to you guys, we have another process of form. We review, now I review before it goes on to diligent, before it hits the board agenda. And then, so we make sure everything is in detail before we start pushing through. So now we don't let the CPO approve any POs, so we don't even let the directors or their assistants enter the POs anymore into the system until we get board approval, and then Honor now does a little form that says, okay, this has been approved by the board, you guys are free to go and ready to. So we already implemented that as well to the state compliance.
And this form does require my signature.
Yes.
It's not just a general form.
Yes.
And you add, Ms. Maestas, further training. And I'm not sure, I know that New Mexico Edge does the training, but does it do online training, or do you have to get away from the office to do the training in Albuquerque as in the past?
Member True, it's fully online.
It's
I just
fully online?
recertified my second term, April 15th, we got the new CPO certified 2 weeks before that, so you have to keep on, every 2 years, you have to recertify.
And is it possible to get the principals and those purchasing all certified?
Spoke with Dr. Lincoln the other day that it would be a good idea. to get everybody on board, if he approves.
Thank you. Who is the new CPO? I didn't know we had.
Her name is Geraldine Romero.
Geraldine Romero. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know we had a new one.
Thank you, Ms. Specialist. I guess Scott just, so we have an unmodified clean audit, but there were some findings.
Correct.
I guess so in layman's terms, how did the district do? I mean, we're,
I think, the district did pretty well. I think just that, I think the biggest opportunity would be the bank reconciliation from the cash area. To just ensure that, because they have until after year end, they have until July 31st to report to PED their cash balances after they go through and reconcile and make sure, for example, that the interfund cash is correct. So the general fund lands to all the special revenue funds that are on cost reimbursement that go negative. So there's an interfund receivable payable between all these individual funds and the general fund. So there's some work to do. There's a short window to do quite a bit of work between June 30 and 7/31. And then just to really scrub the cash accounts and ensure that they're presented correctly, not only in the trial balance for the audit, but also in the reports. So that's why there was, if you look at that finding, I think it's also non-compliance finding, because PED requires in statute, or at least in administrative code, that you have to have the correct balances reported in the PED cash report. So there is an actual report in here that's called the PED cash report. That's a supplemental schedule that's required in the state audit rule, but they have to go through a process, and it takes a few weeks. I mean, I wish they could go past 7/31, but they can't. Get all that stuff reconciled out, so that probably takes quite a bit of time. I have no idea, but it's a major lift. Get all those funds reconciled, the cash, the balance is correct, and it's the reconciliation, doing the bank reconciliation correctly. Because that can end up with a wrong cash balance for your cash report. Your checks outstanding, deposits in transit, that's all got to be just right. So that's in our view the most important area. I think the district would probably agree that cash is the most important area. So
And the reconciliation is done monthly, correct?
they're done monthly.
Monthly?
Yeah.
So that would take them to if they reconcile monthly, it's just a process that takes them, they can see any discrepancy at that point in time because they have to reconcile.
Yeah. That's true.
all right, thank you, Scott. This item needs to be approved by the board. I'll turn it over to you, Superintendent, for a recommendation.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, recommend the presentation great presentation done by Jag, and for approval of the fiscal year 23-24 financial audit as presented.
We have a recommendation of the superintendent. I'll go ahead and move forward with making a motion to approve the fiscal year 23-24 financial audit as presented. We have a second from Board Member King.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Give our,
Thank you so
give our
much.
regards to Audrey.
Yeah, please say
Thank
hi
you.
to Audrey.
That's-
for
And meeting,
us.
time meeting, so.
All night.
I read some.
Okay. Moving right along is student outcomes, item 10. 10-1 is our Taos High School Board presentation. Mrs. Emmy Martinez de Herrera, Principal, Taos High School.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Full board members, this evening, I'm gonna talk a little bit, I'm gonna start off with just some data points to give the board so we can really focus on our student outcomes. We're in the process of our end of the year assessment, our iReady assessment, and we're at 74% completion. Our last two have been at least at 96% completion with growth in areas. What I want to share with everyone is, that's not on here, is our SAT. Our juniors took the SAT, College Board SAT, and our school scored at an 895 and our state's at an 879. So our school is scoring over, so that's a good thing. As far as our SAT scores are going. So again, our school scored at an 895 and our state scored at an 879. We had 38 students who scored over 1,000. We had 14 that scored between 1,000 and 1,100. So a lot of this lends to what our students are looking at as far as college entrance and their goals, like Mr. Rose, our young student, spoke earlier about their aspirations and college goals and dreams. So that is a really great example of how students are really exemplifying their student outcomes. Tonight, I really wanted to just talk about the opportunities. My lefty pick slide down. Thank you, about this opportunity students have at the high school. So when we look at athletics, there's a huge list of athletics that our students can participate in. We're in different seasons right now. Our track team is in play right now, and we're actually really, there's a huge number of students that are participating in athletics throughout, as our other student talked about how important it is as part of her academic day. In addition to athletics, if you can look at the next slide, our activities and clubs, and there's two that I really want to highlight tonight. One was our students that were focused on our speech and debate group, and that's been a highlight with our school in general, because in the past, we're always very much so focused on our athletics, and that was easy to highlight and spotlight our students. But now our focus is expanded to include our academics and activities as well. Today, we had an amazing presentation by our mariachi students. Our mariachi students went to the Living Center and they performed for our community there, and they were honored, and they told a story, and I wish Christine's son was still here, but both boys are part of the mariachi, but there's an older gentleman that had been in a wheelchair, not really moving around, not too responsive, and they were playing music and he got up and he started moving around. So they just, so it was just heartfelt. When you hear them play, it just feels great. And I think it lends to the opportunity and the support that our board and our schools, and not only our school board and superintendent and associate superintendent, but our cabinet, because they're instrumental in supporting us as school leaders to ensure that we can then support the students. Our mariachi group right now, Norby, which was our teacher, he left. So they are literally, these kids are so talented. And they have a long-term sub and a little bit of support or hopefully a lot of support for me. So I just wanted to highlight those two groups that we do have. And that list continues to grow as we have, as I had a presentation yesterday from our students that want to do an eco club. So they want to look at environmental friendly practices. And not only focus at the high school level, but also focus community wide. So they're the group that went to Los Alamos, they went to UNM, they're those students that did a day without waste at Taos High School. So partnering with our local community, our county is huge for our students, and they're leaving an impact and a legacy for those that are going to come after them. If we go down one more slide, I just wanted to highlight the support programs that our students have. So when we look at our Bridges program, that's when we're looking at college readiness, and they take students, they're on site, but then they're also taking meetings with our students. Our community schools has been extremely instrumental with our families in need, food sources, graduation, and everything that she can help with. El Centro has been really responsive. The other day they heard us on the radio seeking some support, and they said, how can we help? We can come down and help if it's a medical need. Our Flex Friday advisory team, we have brought that team together with my leadership team, and we've created one big team and it's called a school improvement team. So we're really focusing on areas that we want to improve as a school, but with a diverse group of leaders, not just our department chairs, but a diverse group of students. Our Gear Up, our grads program, Taos Alive. Taos Alive has been instrumental in coming into our school and being able to run our wellness room. So we have this beautiful wellness room for students, and with the support from Taos Alive, she mans the wellness room. So she, for example, is there at the lunchtime to work with students, has flyers out there if they need to meet with her. She's meeting with on average 10 to 15 students. Recently, we've had to address some behaviors that the students are exhibiting at the school, so she was able to address that. So she showed a video on vaping and all the bad things that can happen with it. So she had students at lunchtime and she was showing that presentation. TBH, our Red Willow After School Program. Today, we just had a training and we sent our restorative justice team to this boardroom to work with Ms. Renetta on the team on those practices, which we're trying a slow implementation as far as how we're working with our students at the high school. And then, of course, our UNM and dual credit. Our CNA program is maxed out with UNM. So we have several students that are going to be graduating this year and even more so with their certified nursing. And then we have a medical assistant program that UNM is opening up. So the partnership with UNM is really expanding the capacity for our students. And with Flex Friday, I respect for the opportunity the students have to, expand their learning opportunities within or outside the walls of the high school. So with that, school board members and Superintendent Layton, I just wanted it to be a brief presentation as far as our kiddos and what we're looking to, what we're doing for them at the school level and the opportunities that they have with our school. Stand for questions.
Board have any questions for Mrs. Renetta?
No, thank you, Bill.
I just have a comment, Ms. Simi. I appreciate what you're doing with UNM. That was one of the things they talked about at the national conference. UNM is not really, it's like a junior, it's a feeder to the main campus, but still you're working with. I had a chance to attend the commencement last year. We'll be next week as well, and it's great to see the students there. We had one that was like 15, right? Which is amazing. Her CNA, they just on their way, so.
The helping profession and the medical profession is huge, so. We're very fortunate to have that. You don't have to go very far.
I have one question for you. In regards to the long-term sub for mariachi, is that position posted?
It is.
It is posted?
It is posted and we're putting the word out there. Ms. Linda and myself are and the kids, I have to share with you how talented those young individuals are and what a pleasure it's been to really support them and advocate for them. They're going to have a mariachi espectacular coming up next Thursday, I believe. And we're inviting middle school and our little theater program, Mr. Juan's group. So we're excited for a night of music. So we invite everyone to attend and I can share that invitation with everyone.
Okay, and then would you let us know when you're gonna,
May 15th.
May 15th?
May 15th at 6:30?
Is that a Thursday? Is it the Thursday?
Yeah.
Yes.
And where?
At the high school. And I can share that flyer. And we have a few, last night we had, I forgot, I failed to mention, we had Tiwa night at the high school. And it was a beautiful, very nice, well put together presentation, and our group, Ms. Renetta was there, and it was really nice to see our families and our community. It was district wide, so hopefully that'll be something we continue at the high school, and they were very appreciative of our collaboration.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, I want to commend Ms. Emmy. She took on the role at the beginning of the year, but really took ownership of the student outcomes. And even in the training that has been provided at the secondary level on how to think about testing environments. What is it like? How do we improve scores based on just the how you provide the test atmosphere for students? Because of that, she shared with me about the SAT scores, and I just want to commend our principal because that is part of the student outcomes role that she has just embraced, and it's now permeating through the school. It takes a little bit of time. It's, it's a long, big ship. It's a high school. So the turns are a little bit wider, but we're seeing those improvements. And so we're excited to see what else can come of this. So thank you, Ms.
And if I may, Dr. Nate, I just want to thank you and your cabinet and the board for the support that I've had my first year as a principal, because without the additional training and support and guidance, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I've done or be able to say our focus is student outcomes or really highlight what amazing students that we have at the school, because this board and our leadership team has been able to just really exemplify what we're here for, and it's our students. So I feel amazing being part of that, and I feel very thankful for the support that we get.
Thank you, Ms. Emmy.
Thank you so much.
Our next campus principal presentation is Enos Garcia Elementary. Mrs. Nicole Bora Atencio, Principal, Enos Garcia Elementary.
Lotus, with the board, Dr. Layton. Thank you for the opportunity to present this month's campus report for Enos Garcia, and our presentation reflects our continued alignment with our strategic goals. Across all our grade levels, our students are engaging in meaningful academic experiences that support their core learning. And if you'll go to the next slide, please. The presentation tonight is mostly in pictures because it best captures what our students been able to accomplish in the last month or so. So these are examples of the art that was shared with the TCA for the art show, which we had 15 students have their art on display. Our art teacher, Jody Irons, created some individual and some class pieces, and that pendulum piece that you're seeing on the top right-hand corner was quite unique. It's actually rather big. You can't tell from the picture, but they ended up being some really captivating, unique projects the kids were really excited about, and were very engaging. They were really cool to watch. I'd never seen anything quite like that before. Some of the students, we'll go to the next slide, but some of the students that have their events right now are Pablo Valdez, Zachariah Vasquez, Brooks Jaggers, Alison Gonzalez, Luis Limas, Petty Cozar, Graciela Aragon, Victoria Torres Rivera, Jimena Quesada, Evan Torres, Amelia Baca, Avery J. Quintana, Maya Acosta, Amelia Ariano, and Penelope Pacheco. And they are extremely proud right now to have their pieces there, and I encourage anybody to check it out for as long as it's on display. Right now, every month, our Avid team chooses a focus, either one or two strategies to focus on for the month, and then it's expected that each classroom will practice that particular strategy with their students from kindergarten through 5th grade. And so this is an example, or these are examples of how one-pagers are utilized, and our one-pagers are where students document keywords based on whatever it is they're learning about the time, and then draw representations to support their learning. Well, we went a step further and incorporated that into our writing by utilizing our step-up writing, and I talked about that in the last board report that I did, because it's been such a game changer for our students. So it's a brain-based, color-coded strategy to help organize sentences, and we saw a huge improvement with student writing when we started utilizing it. So it's based on over 30 years of research, and it began with students with special needs in mind, but it's actually a very relevant strategy for any student. And it gives them a way to anchor to what you're trying to get them to improve upon when they're not quite understanding what you're meaning by topic, sentence, or details, and when you're talking about explanations. It just helps them to be able to anchor to something more tangible with the colors. And so you see that on the far right, we have a 2nd grade example of this writing about the skeletal system, and then below we have the nervous system by a 3rd grader. And we're currently in the process of completing our iReady assessments for the end of the year, so we'll have more data on that later on. These are more examples in the upper grades of how we've utilized one-pagers to take student learning and to take a step further. So above, you have the 4th grade integration of New Mexico history with an Avid one-pager that morphed into a trifold presentation. And they're hanging on the wall at school, and they're very amazing to look at. I mean, all the information the students captured was really impressive, and each student had a different topic. So there were a couple of duplications, but students could choose anything from New Mexico history that they wanted to report on, and that's how they gravitated into the trifolds. And then below you have the 5th grade examples of how their Avid strategies were implemented with Black History Month and Women's History. In the next slide, we have we had students that entered the Arbor Day tree poster contest, and the 4 winners out of 90 that submitted the posters were all from Enos Garcia. And so this is Aiden Quintana, Jeremiah Khan, Amia Cantu. We have another student, Maya Sanchez, who's not there, wasn't there that day, and I had to get the presentation and so her pictured in a bit, but we're super proud of them, and they're proud of themselves, and their classmates are really impressed by them as well. Next slide, please. So right now, for the end of April, we have 86 students, perfect attendance. We've seen improvements in tier 1, which students with student numbers increasing from 180 to 201, and in our tiers 2 through 4, we show a positive trend overall, and we're working closely with our families to continue to support regular attendance. Right now, Mr. Spell is trying to schedule some, actual home visits because there's some we just can't have to get to school on a regular basis, so he's trying to figure out how we can schedule those. Okay. Lamar? Thank you. And of course, Miss Lisa Randall, our teacher of the year for Enos Garcia, and we just want to say a little bit about her. So she has 37 years in as a teacher. She could have retired, but she's choosing to stay on for at least another year. 32 of her years have been in Taos Municipal Schools. And when we asked her what her inspiration was, she said her kids, but also the team she works with. She has done an amazing job, an outstanding job as a PLC leader in her grade level team, trying to get them on board to look at student data and do what's necessary to improve student outcomes. And we're super proud of her for being able to do that. She said she's known she was wanting to be a teacher since she was in third grade. So that's pretty amazing. When the mariachis came out to celebrate her, I thought it was pretty interesting. Those students were all from Enos Garcia. And the two boys, they're in the picture, the two guitarists, Antonio Montes and Alejandro Ortega, reminded me of when they were in fifth grade and how they ordered pizza from the bathroom because they stuck a cell phone in there, and they just had to remind me of that story, and how when I got to the door, I told them, you can't have your pizzas, are you kidding me? But anyway, they thought it was a funny story to bring up still to that day that they came out. So we had a good little laugh about that. And we were pleasantly surprised that when they heard the music, all the students came out and they were so excited to congratulate Miss Randall. And we didn't choreograph all that. They just started coming down the stairs and gravitating towards the music. And when they saw it was for her, they were so excited and happy to congratulate her because they love her. All right, the next one. So right now, the first Friday of every month, we have trainings by behavior specialist Barbara Humphreys, and she's just been a godsend when it's come to strategies to support the high needs of our students. Yes, a lot of them are special needs, but just it's just been great strategies to use across the board in general. We have kids coming in with some greater needs than we've ever seen before, even outside of having special ed disabilities and things. And so her content and her knowledge has been a wonderful support. So it's giving us a baseline to work from with teachers that are struggling with students in the classroom. So it gives us opportunity to ask them what's the data for implementing these strategies instead of just complaining about this kid, I don't know what to do with them. We can always go back and say, all right, Barbara showed you how to do X, Y, and Z. How is that working out for you? And then looking at the data over time instead of just abandoning a strategy before they've even taken a chance to work. So that's been a real benefit for us. Our care assessment team received training and implementing that strategy. We've put it into place a few times already. Unfortunately, of course, when we're utilizing them, it's not in the best of scenarios. We've had some sad outcomes from it, but it's proving to be beneficial in trying to figure out what's best for our students. So our kinder night at Baton Hall was well attended and full of energy, welcoming incoming students. We had a ton of faculty that came out to support. We had several tables set up for Spanish and English and Title I, and we are really proud of the teachers that were coming out to support enrollment, because we've known that at Enos our enrollment has dropped quite a bit over the last few years. Our pre-K has hosted a full month of family engagement events ranging from sleep hygiene to music and technology literacy nights. And tonight actually is a literacy night, and I just received pictures from them as right before I walked up here, and it looks like our best event yet. It's a huge turnout. In the month of April, our community school pantry supported over 230 families with food, which I think is one of our highest ones. Our after school program continues to have field trips to Kit Carson Park, Twirl, Harwood, and other entities here in town that are expanding students' experiences outside of the classroom. Every year we have an annual fun run at Kit Carson Park for kids with grade, and so these were pictures from this year. We had students winning first through third place in each grade level in both categories for boys and girls. And we actually had teachers participate this year. So actually on the left, the gentleman running in the back is Mr. Juan Carlos who's our fifth grade teacher. And he's having a great time being here and being with our kids, and we're lucky to have him here, but they had a wonderful time participating in that. We continue to prioritize student staff well-being, and I, along with Mr. Spell and Carla Martinez, visited Ratone's Restorative Just Practices program, which was an inspiring model, and we hope to integrate it further into Enos. We try to jump in as much as we can. I have some mediation training in my background, and so between Mr. Spell and I, we rolled it out with what we have currently. But Mr. Spell jumped in and created a binder to get us started with resources to support the steps with the strategies, and again to rearrange his room to be more conducive to our needs when it comes down to that. We witnessed some things in Raton that meant more comfortable seating for students when they're in those mediation stages or when they're coming in to talk about issues. And so he's trying to reintegrate some of those ideas into his room and try to make it as comfortable as possible so that students are willing to come in and talk about their needs. And we're currently working on adding a few items to our safety plan, which will be submitted next week. And we're wrapping up our Elevate and PDP input for educator evaluations also, which should be done by Monday. And we continue to work on a safe and supportive achievement focused learning environment for our students. Any questions?
Does the board have any questions or comments for Mrs. Mora Atencio? Just like to make a comment, it's real encouraging to hear you speak of going out to Raton and kind of seeing how other people are doing things. I think it's very important just to kind of get outside of our little world and see what we can utilize that somebody else is working with to better affect our students. So thank you for that. And like we were talking about, Board Member King going to his conference, and our students travel to different places. It's I definitely want to encourage staff to get out and see other school districts and encourage other school districts to come and see us and how we're doing things right. Yeah.
True.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, I just want to commend our principal. She's done an amazing job of moving the campus forward, not both on the climate and culture of the campus, but also improving student outcomes. And so I just want to commend her on a job well done. I know it's been a long journey, but it's come, there's a lot of fruition coming from the hard work that they've been doing.
I could definitely attest to that. Over the years I've been on the board, definitely the climate and culture has changed quite a bit there at Enos Garcia. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the light, and kids were on point. I think I said the last board meeting, but I will say it again. First grader in a bilingual class knew that Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president. And it was like, I said, you're going places. And it was just really encouraging. The fifth graders, every class, you can see the kids were right there. So just keep it up.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you. It was a really good presentation. I loved all the pictures.
Oh, thank you.
Really, really very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the board, we have our campus reports for those other campuses that did not present tonight. Does the board have any questions or comments? And if not, and you do, please reach out to Superintendent Leyen so he could share with the school sites your comments and questions that may arise.
Just in general.
Please.
Thank you, President Flores. I just want to thank all of you, the principals, the way that you do your reports where you respond to the goals of the school. That's really so awesome and helpful. I appreciate that so much. I want to let you all know.
Thank you all our principals and site administrators for all the work that you do. Moving right along, we have item 11, Superintendent Report, Dr. Antonio Leyen Jr.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board. So as part of my superintendent's report, let's see. One of the first things I want to talk about is our student achievement. And And so we talk about our district attendance. And so when we talk about our district attendance overall, this is going through week 16. And so when we talk about week 16, that was one of our highest percentages. But that does also mean that we are above last year's average by 1 percentage point. So as long as we're over, we're over. So want to commend the principals and the attendance coaches and all the staff that work towards making sure that our kiddos are coming to school. So the next thing I would like to present again is based on that, when we talk about student enrollment, we've stayed steady from the last board meeting. We've dropped by just one. Let's see if I can do this right. There we go. We just dropped by one student from the last board meeting on the 16th to today, the 8th. But we still are up 32 since August. So we do have an increased enrollment, but we are still working to make sure, like I think our principal, Miss Nicole mentioned, we even have home visits to make sure that we're keeping track of our kiddos. So it comes next with, this is the part that I really like because believe it or not, this is the last one that we're going to be doing for the year. And the reason I say that is because the only way that the students can enjoy the ice cream is if they're here, right? So we'll have to do April. Can't do May because the kids are already in summer. But the campus with the highest student attendance is Ranchos Elementary. I think it's fitting since we've had very stiff competition between the campuses.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, the next component I want to talk about is educator excellence. And when we talk about the highest staff attendance for the month. So, you know, it's a drum roll because it is the last one. This is the last for burritos. Ranchos actually pulled a double. 96%. And I do want to put the caveat, Cyber Magnet had 100%. They will always get a burrito every month. So just wanted to mention that. So having said that, my next component of foundational goal to educator excellence, the board had requested of me at some point to develop an exit data so that we can review why our staff leave. So we did develop in conjunction with HR, one of our exit surveys. And so every employee who does leave the district gets to fill out this educator excellence employee exit data. And so they fill it out so that we can get the information. And then from that information, then we can start presenting that to our staff, our principals, so that we can better the community, the campuses itself, what process and procedures we need to start working on. And on the flip side, what things are we doing well? And so having said that, part of the data that's in there is a few questions. We've had so far 11 responses. Again, this is not mandatory, but it is. Pressing the right buttons. It's a delay. There we go. There we go. So what you see on this slide is two sections. I know it's difficult to see, but I did provide the board with our copy. But one of the first questions is, what campus or department did you work at? Those that are exiting. And it's very recent, retiring, moving to different places, but we wanted to get that information out there. Second question is, what position did you hold? Whether it was campus administration, other teaching. We wanted to make sure and provide that information so that the exiting employees can give us that, where they came from, and where we can focus on. The next one was what, my 50-year-old eyes there.
What prompted you to leave?
Thank you. What prompted me to leave the district? So as you can see from the responses, as you can see from the responses itself, we had a few from relocation was 2 responses. We had retirement as 6 and other as 3. The other one is, did your role duties turn out as expected? 82% said yes. 1 said sometimes and 1 said no. So if you really think about it, 91% of the staff who answered the survey said that it was what they expected, at least sometimes, or yes, for sure. When it came to workload, how was your workload? 73% is what it was expected, and 27% was more than what was expected. So when we tell them what is expected of the workload, we get a good portion that actually aligns with what we tell them. With the next one, we talk about the information. How satisfied were you with your current position? 73% said they were extremely satisfied. 18% said somewhat satisfied, and 9% said were somewhat satisfied, and 9%, excuse me, were extremely dissatisfied. So overall, in the data that came back, 91% that were either somewhat satisfied or extremely satisfied with leaving to another district. 9 said no, 2 said yes, 82% versus 18. If leaving another district to another school district, please enter the district, which district? Now, this was optional, it's not required, so many chose not to put in where they were leaving. But nonetheless, it's a question that we wanted to see if they would answer. Was the cost of living a factor in your decision to leave the district? Only 3 responded, but in this particular one, the 3 responded said no. Next slide that we have is talking about what did you like most about Taos Municipal Schools in your role position. They do talk about working with grade level teams, working with staff and students. And the one I liked was at the bottom that said, I do believe in public schools. Question number 14, what do you like least about Taos Municipal Schools? We want to know, right? One of it took 4 months to be offered a special ed position, math position, so I'm certified in. So that was one of the main responses. Some decided not to enter or just put NA. Question number 15 was, would you recommend Taos Municipal Schools to others? 7 or 64% said yes. 36% or 4 response said maybe. So in other words, nobody said no. 100% said either yes or maybe. Next one is any other feedback would you like to provide, including any other questions you would have liked to have been asked? One response, if my health was better, I would have continued. Next response that was shown up was the charter schools are killing the public schools. They are more aggressive when, ... It just says the more aggressive when and then ... They didn't give them more information. My principals are out there wanting to know exactly what was said. But the reason I wanted to share this with the board, it was asked of me, but at the same token, it does provide the school district with information where we can streamline our processes and or provide that information to our principals to better our climate and culture and improve student outcomes. So just so that you know, everyone is out there.
Thank you, President Flores. Are you planning to continue this excellent practice?
Absolutely. This is ongoing. This is ongoing.
Thank you. Awesome. Good information.
Very helpful.
Thank you. Next one, 11.4, foundational goal 3, family and community engagement. I just wanted to touch base that I did attend to the invite of Trish, one of our teachers, to the Great Taos Fun and Run. And so what you see here is, let me make sure I put it. I'm working on 2 different slides. There we go. So got a chance to see the kids in action. Some good pictures with some of the kiddos that were there. What I will say is it was interesting to see how the kids really revved up that first half of the run. And then after that second run, they were just like, all right, they were gassed out, but they did not give up.
Right.
And so it was good to see that. It was a beautiful day. I think the Fun and Run thought maybe it was going to be rained out, but it was a beautiful day. Nonetheless, the kids really seemed to enjoy the Fun and Run. So that's just part of my report for this month, and I stand for further questions.
I was gonna say, did you participate?
No, I was wearing a suit, but I was tempted, but no, the kids would have outrun me like that.
Yeah.
Anna could go run for you.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't here that day.
she wasn't here that day.
I already knew.
Does the board have any questions or comments for superintendent regarding the items presented in his report?
President Mark and Superintendent, I say that only because my grandson, I play basketball with him sometimes and I play soccer with him sometimes. So they have he has a good laugh and he watches after me, but it's a challenge, let me tell you. So you have You don't realize all the energy that these kids have to play the games and to run and jump like the way they do, and you can appreciate that.
It was good to see their energy and they were
Yeah.
full of it, that's for sure.
It's like their field day, right?
Mhm.
So next year, Superintendent, I will join you, we can walk it. You'll have a
Speed walk.
year, you'll have a year under your belt, you'll be acclimated with the altitude, right? And maybe some of your cabinets could join us too. It'd be
We,
fun.
we could have a race, have the board there.
Yeah, potato sack, right?
I'll start stretching, getting ready now. Yeah, it'd be nice if Board Member King just kind of hit on something I thought about. It's hard to, to think to invite the board to all these functions, but definitely, something, I think we'd like to attend if, know for next year or, future events. We all have day jobs as well. It's hard to commit, but if we have an opening in our schedule, I definitely would like to be present and support staff and students.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Superintendent. I also have a question. So we talked about like getting a survey out, to see about the school times. A question on, so we're doing an exit survey. Do we have a survey going around? And if not, maybe we could get one out that just gauges how staff currently feels, within the district. I know when we send out surveys, we all could be very anxious or apprehensive as to the negative things that we may hear, but it's very good to know where we're struggling or falling short so that we can try to retain teachers or retain staff before they leave, or maybe get a pulse as to what they're struggling with. Maybe could we look at developing a survey before the end of the year if possible? Or maybe are you in the process of that?
To develop a survey of that nature, it takes a little bit more time. There are some formats already out there that we can look into at a cost, but there are some formats that we can start looking into, but I'll definitely look into that.
I don't know how the board feels, but this is your first year as a superintendent. I think, it'd be good feedback, for you and for the board. Of course, we want to hear, we're hoping to hear good things, but it's also good to know the things that we need to work on and not be shy or, fearful of that nature, because the only way we're going to get better and change the culture, continually work to change that, is to hear from our teachers. And as the students said too, I think a lot of times people are shy or hesitant to be self-advocates. So maybe, if they're anonymous, I can't stand the school board.
Only the one who wears a hat all the time.
Well, like I mentioned, President Flores, Vice President, members of the board, there are some formats out there that we can look at to see how we can expedite it. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but we can definitely look to see.
It's just a suggestion. I'm not.
Yeah, I think Secretary Trujillo thought it was a good idea too. I bet the staff could come up with a pretty good survey, just suggestions for a survey of things that they would maybe like
Maybe
to
what
have in
we
it.
could improve for next year, if you had one suggestion on what we could do
I bet the staff
different
all
next year.
knows what they would
Well,
like to
and
see on the
generally,
survey.
that's what I mentioned about formats. There are programs out there that already have this type of feedback specifically for school systems. I'm familiar with such surveys before, so I can definitely look and do a little bit of research and to find out what is out there that specifically asks certain questions regarding the culture and the climate.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to get, especially now before they depart for summer, they could vent.
Get a
little-
load off their
vent-
chest.
Vent a little bit.
Have a better summer vacation,
Yeah, it's good for people to be able to, if something's
be heard.
Sure.
bothering them or on their chest or weighing on them, they could at least get it out there, and you guys in your cabinet could review it and try to make them work on improvements.
Sure.
There's always room to improve. It's hard to make everybody happy, every student, every teacher, every parent. When we have, we serve such a high number of people. It's a big institution, the school district, and unfortunately, we don't want anybody to fall through the cracks, but there always is that possibility, and we want to try to stay.
Ways to
ahead of that.
improve and ways to
Yeah.
improve.
Okay. Okay, the next item is old business. Item 12.1 is a second reading for possible action regarding revisions to Taos Municipal Schools Board Policy K 0850, public gifts, donations to schools. We did have a previous, second reading, but we tabled it due to a minor error in the,
$18,000 error.
yeah, so we are, superintendent, want to go ahead and read it?
Sure, President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, as mentioned, the error was just a 0. And so, nonetheless, though that correction has been made, so I'll go ahead and read the second reading of the board policy. K 0850 at KCD, public gifts, donations to schools. The board has the authority to accept gifts and donations as be made to the district or to any school in the district. For those gifts and donations with a value of, notice the strikeout of 2, $20,000 or fewer, the board authorizes the superintendent to accept such gifts and donations on behalf of the board. The superintendent shall report any such gifts and donations accepted on behalf of the board at its next regular or special meeting. The board reserves the right to refuse to accept any gift or donation that does not contribute toward the achievement of the goals of this district and the ownership of which would tend to adversely affect the district. The board also reserves the right to direct the superintendent to return any gifts or donations accepted by the superintendent on behalf of the board. Any gift or donation accepted by the board shall become the property of the district, may not be returned without the approval of the board, and is subject to the same controls and regulations as other properties of the district. The board shall be responsible for maintenance of any gift it accepts unless otherwise stipulated. The board will make every effort to honor the intent of the donor in its use of the gift or donation, but reserves the right to utilize any gift it accepts in the best interest of the educational program of the district. In no case shall acceptance of a gift or donation be considered to be an endorsement by the board of a commercial product or business enterprise or institution of learning. The superintendent shall encourage individuals and organizations considering contributions to the schools to consult with the superintendent on the appropriateness of any such gifts. Report to the board all gifts and donations exceeding, scratch out 2, and it says $20,000 that have been offered to the district for their review and action. Acknowledge the receipt and value of any gift accepted by the district and prepare feeding means as appropriate for recognizing or memorializing gifts to the district. Gifts shall be recorded in appropriate inventory listings and property records. And it's, should the board approve tonight, it will be adopted as of today.
Thank you, Superintendent, for that reading. If you could just share for the public and the board, why we are looking to amend this policy.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board. Part of our current process is that any donation or gift has to go before the board. So whether it's a nickel, $50, $5,000, $50,000, every single item has to go before the board. So in the process of accepting a donation, many of our charitable organizations do provide that to the school. But in order to get this through the system, through procurement, so that we can stay off our audit findings as well, we would have to bring it up to the board. So what this would allow, as myself as superintendent, you authorization for me to accept these donations and report it to the next board for 20,000 and under. It aligns with our procurement, which allows me to do signatures and still report. But it also allows us to expedite the process for these donations, which would go to benefit our students or our programs. And so it allows a good streamlined process for us to be able to do it while following procurement. And so this is why, when it was brought to our attention of how some of the delay can be because it does require to the board, now this would at least allow us with anything 20 and below, the capability to move that process forward.
Thank you, Superintendent. Does the board have any questions or comments? We did a first reading. We did a tentative second reading at the last meeting and had to table it for a minor clerical error. This is the third time we brought it forward. I think we did have a healthy discussion on the first reading. I think it's great that the school district has organizations and philanthropists that are willing to donate to the district. I believe that the board trusts in our superintendent for him to have that ability to decipher if it's a donation that's gonna positively benefit the students and the staff, and that is why we employ a superintendent. This policy will just enable the expedition of the process, and it will be reported back to the board at the following meeting per the policy. And at that point in time, you know, the board, if the board has issue with said donation, we could direct the superintendent to return the donation or maybe work something out. I have no personal issue with it and would vote to approve the change in it. Or okay, that,
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
yeah, entertain a motion, but anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the new revision of the policy of K-0850. Public gifts and donation to the school, Towson Municipal Schools, as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion for approval from Board Member King and a second from Secretary Trujillo.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trio,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes,
Thank you, Ward.
thank you, Superintendent. And then just for comment, I do appreciate that we have this standing item on the agendas where we review the board policy. It makes the board aware of our policies, makes the public aware of their policies, and also allows us through bringing it forward to identify maybe changes that need to be made. So I think it's been a good practice so far, and I've been very appreciative of it. I'm actually trying to collect every policy and keep it there at the house, so I don't have to go online. I'm a material guy, I like paper.
Yeah.
Okay, item 13, new business. 13.1 is the discussion, consideration, and possible approval of a memorandum of understanding between Taos Municipal Schools and Taos County to provide evacuation centers in efforts to respond to emergencies that fall within the jurisdiction of Taos County. Mr. Diego Trujillo, our safety and security supervisor.
Good evening, Dr. Layton, President Flores, Board. My understanding is this has already been accepted by the board. I'm just bringing it in today for updated for the new year.
I do recall the previous year it moved forward. This is an item for approval. Any questions or comments from the board prior to seeking recommendation from superintendent?
I do. Thank you, President Forrest. Have we had to use it yet?
Before I was in this position, the last time I think we used it was the fires in Mora. We would house at our schools where they could sleep if necessary and shower. But
Nice.
yeah, I
Okay.
can't think of any other time that it's been used.
Thank you. Let's hope you don't, during your
Right.
tenure, I hope we don't need it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question I have, I didn't see anything different from what I read on the last MOU. Any changes or nothing at all?
I did see the last one. I just believe the date might have been updated, but that was it.
Okay,
Just the date.
all right. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, recommend the approval of memorandum of understanding between Taos Municipal Schools and Taos County to provide evacuation centers in efforts to respond to emergencies that fall within the jurisdiction of Taos County as presented by Safety Security Supervisor Diego Trujillo.
With superintendent's recommendation, I'll make a motion to approve the MOU between Taos Municipal Schools and Taos County for evacuation centers and to respond to emergencies that fall within the jurisdiction of Taos County.
Second.
Second from Vice President Spray. Open the roll, please.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trio,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Item 13.2, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of proposal for installation of security improvements in the district to include new cameras, installation and upgrades to existing cameras by Civic Tech for the amount of $27,966.30. Safety and Security Supervisor Diego Trujillo.
Yes, so, right now, we're gonna upgrade end-of-life cameras that need them, whether it be cameras that need to be rebooted consistently, pixelated cameras where we don't have a good view of what we're trying to look at. We're trying to replace those, and we're also putting a couple new cameras with some current blind spots, so just look at expanding our coverage for us to keep a better eye on the staff and students in the district.
We could get a camera in the superintendent's office.
There already is.
It's called Anna, it's named Anna.
Well, just trying to breathe.
She's our eyes,
Trying
the
to,
bride.
just joking, Superintendent.
Give it to her.
Would you identify the source of the money to be used?
This is
This was coming out of 31,400.
yeah, I can't remember 31,400.
It's right here, it says here on the,
Yeah, it's,
31,400, 4,56119.
What does 31,400 mean?
Pretty much good.
Capital.
Yes, that's capital operation.
Thank you.
Then we did receive capital outlay for security improvements.
Okay,
I believe that.
that's important, I think, to identify, you know, as you're presenting these, where the source of the money
right,
is coming from, so that it's understood that the money is being used from the fund that would comply.
right,
The auditors talked about compliance,
right.
and the expenditures need to the source. And the use of that money needs to be complied with.
Correct, I understand that. That's something that's new for me in my new position. I've been working on it. For this one, I did work with Tanya hand in hand until everything was completely finished. Just, yeah,
She'll offer good guidance.
she's been a great help.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
Superintendent, before we get a recommendation, something that just popped in my head, being that this is capital appropriations, would it be possible that, whenever we do spend money that has been, given to us by the legislature through either a senator or representative, maybe we could send them a thank you note and notify them that we're spending that money on like this item?
Yes,
I
sir.
think, they would be appreciative of it, and for Senator Gonzalez or Representative Ortiz, thank you for your generosity. We upgraded, utilized the funds given to us to install new cameras for safety and security.
President Flores, absolutely. In fact, I had one already going out,
All right.
but our local mail sent it back, so I'm gonna be returning it back with the appropriate postage.
Superintendent, do you have a recommendation for item 13.2?
President Flores, Vice President Spade, members of the board, I recommend approval of the proposal of installation of security improvements in the district to include new cameras, installations and upgrades to existing cameras by Civic Tech in the amount of $27,966.30 as presented by Safety and Security Supervisor Diego Trujillo.
Okay, we have a recommendation from Superintendent. Thank you, Mr. Trio, for the presentation of the item. Would the board like to make, member of the board like to make a motion for approval? We have a recommendation from Superintendent. If,
I'll make a motion.
thank you.
Make a motion to accept the upgrade for cameras. Live cameras, installation of new cameras in areas needed around the district for safety measures throughout the district.
Okay, that'd be item 13.2 in the amount of $27,966.
30 cents.
Board Member King, motion for approval. I'll second that.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Sprague,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next item is gonna be 13.3, discussion consideration possible approval of proposal for installation of security improvements in the Taos High School lobby by AAA Restoration and Construction Services Incorporated in the amount of $4.03, Mr. Alipio Mondragon and Marcos Herrera.
President Flores, Vice President Spray, before we do present the following, I just wanted to emphasize that even though it talks about the installation of security improvements for safety of the district, they won't necessarily exactly say where for the safety reasons of our students and our staff, but we do want to mention exactly that we are making those improvements. We just can't, for the safety of our district, say exactly where.
I think, President Flores, this is for Superintendent Layton. Maybe, in the future, you could tell us all in a private situation more specifically so that we know what we're voting on.
Correct. That would be in the executive session.
Yeah, exactly.
To
Thank
protect
you.
our students and staff.
Thank you.
So with that being said, Superintendent Layton, President Flores, members of the board, we do have in the agenda item the description of the project at the Taos High School. So it's in the amount of $47,004.03. That one is coded with the 31100, which is a GRT.
Thank you. So, just for security purposes, we will not get into it and elaborate too much on it, but it is presented in the packet with the information there. There is a description, source, the funding source. I believe Vice President Spray, at some point in time, you did request some improvements such as this previous.
Yes, you see what it says right there.
Just some concerns.
That was my little note.
Superintendent, do you have a recommendation on this item?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, recommend approval of the proposed for installation of security improvements at Taos High School in the lobby by AAA Restoration and Construction Services in the amount of $47,004.03 as presented by Director Marcos Herrera and Maintenance Supervisor Alipio Mondragon.
Would you like to make a motion to approve?
Yeah. Okay. We're on 13.3.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 13.3 under new business. The installation of security improvement at Taos High School lobby by AAA Restoration and Construction Services Incorporated in the amount of $47,004.03.
I'll second that motion. Over the roll.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes, just real quick question on that one item. I think it's the school year is gonna be ending. I foresee it's gonna probably start after the end of the school year.
It'll start probably in the first week of June.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Board.
13.4 is discussion, consideration, and possible approval of proposal for rekey of entire Taos Municipal School District facilities by Overhead Door Company of Albuquerque in the amount of $187,115.31. Mr. Lipio Mondragon, Maintenance Supervisor.
So members of the board, this material that we're purchasing under this contract with Overhead Doors is the same material that's been fluctuating due to the tariffs. What I'm trying to do here is lock in pricing on this material before we have another increase. The pricing that I included in the packet was their old quote plus 10%. Since that pricing, since that quote, since we submitted those items to the agenda, I did get more accurate pricing, and we're actually below this cost right now. So we have $187,115.31 on the agenda. The actual pricing for these items is $184,457.45. And this would come out of the 31,100 GRT funding that we have. So the pricing actually wasn't, the increase wasn't as high as we expected. we actually came out a little less than what they had anticipated.
I have a question. Thank you, President Flores.
And let me just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Explain to you, the reason we're doing this is to just, take control of our key system again. Right now, we've got, we've just got a random keys that we don't know who has what, so we need to bring it back into control and start over. It's really a big process, but we need to do that.
Yeah, thank you, President Flores. How does that happen that we are, how often do we?
This has been years and years and years and years.
Okay,
Where
so before you got here, I think I'm almost positive, yes, before you got here, this entire admin building was rekeyed, like in late 2022. It was, we did that when we had to do that
Right.
kind of overnight. And also,
That was Valerie Trujillo had the building rekeyed.
right,
So when we did that, we did the exterior doors. We didn't do anything interior. This is every door.
you're talking about the interior, you want, so you not including in your quote, the exterior, you're not
This is
gonna redo those
every-
again?
Every door in the district.
Okay, and when I toured Taos High School a year and a half ago, maybe, I noticed that they were rekeying a lot of doors in the hallways at that time. That wasn't finished, but there was probably half of them were done according to
That was
Principal Trujillo.
Right, that was door hardware. Actually, they never did a rekey at the high school. That was the same thing we're about to do at the middle school. That's replacing hardware, door openers, hinges, that type of stuff.
So they weren't replaced.
No, they weren't replacing cores or keys at that point. It's the same key system that's been in place, for years and years. Yeah.
And how often do you expect that we'll have to do this?
Probably if we do it right and we keep control of it, we'll probably never have to do it again.
What is the procedure when someone leaves their job? We are sure that they give the keys back?
So that's more of
Is
a
that
human
how it
resource,
works?
but what I can tell you is one of the things, Vice Registrar, President Flores, members of the board, if I may. We are revamping our exit employee process. And so there's a specific by department, when everybody leaves, that they have to turn keys to a specific director. In this case, our cabinet. And so that's one of the things that we have worked on this process specifically so that when we get items turned in, we know exactly who's getting the keys and other items. And so, and at the same token, once we get that exit employee to the point where employees cannot receive their final check unless they have gone through the process.
I was just gonna say that.
Susan, will you help me describe, you, Dr. Layton, you weren't there either. We just had a presentation from UNM last week. Will you help me explain that?
I can't even say the gist of it, but
Was it automated doors?
No, the gist of it is that they're totally concerned about the idea that they are paring back on everything at UNM Taos because they're concerned about federal money coming, the kind of money that they're anticipating they will not have, that they have been used to having. I think the same could be probably true for us. So I had some concern reading through all this. This is a lot. This is like $623,000 worth of stuff in this today. And based on what Chancellor Gutierrez told us and their business manager told us last week.
Oh, you mean last week?
Yeah,
Oh.
Board Member
Yeah.
King and
I was gonna mention something, to help you here, Vice President Spray. I was gonna ask Scott, and it's speculative, and this is just from the current administration, our federal, government. I was gonna ask Scott what was his opinion, but it's all speculation. You know, someone said that maybe it block grants, the monies will come to the states. So obviously, we don't know. I mean, all this stuff is, it's all speculation. And I hear what you're saying because, how is the funding gonna happen in the future? And just like the Federal Reserve,
right,
everyone it's a big question mark. So
right.
I hear what you're saying, but the summer, this is the time you guys can do it. Students are not here and staff. We gotta look at Olympia, we gotta trust our personnel management that you guys are doing for the safety and soundness of the students.
If I could just add for the board, so this is coming out of GRT funds, which, is not operational funding, which is programmatic. If I could be mistaken, but correct me if I am, finance or superintendent, but the GRT funding is for, facilities and maintenance, if I'm not mistaken, so.
If I may, President Flores,
Please.
all the things that we are presenting tonight are either through GRT or capital outlay, none of which are affected or funded by the federal government.
So GRT, we can't save that, we can't keep it and roll it over, and do we have to spend GRT at a certain time?
Vice President, right, it does not expire, however, we've had the allocation for 3 years now, and that's probably what, Mr. Archuleta was talking about when we were saying that we weren't spending the money on one of them, because that money had been sitting there, so. I mean, you can save it, it's sitting there and it's earning interest, but you will need to use it at some point.
I just have I just would like it on the record, I have a concern, even the Jerome Powell says, I don't know what's gonna be happening in the near future, we don't know. And that to me is a this seemed, when I added all this up, it's $623,400 or something, that's, to me, is a lot of money right now, given the situation that no one's really sure what's gonna be coming next.
Great by me, that allocation is given for building and structural only, like.
Mhm,
that's the
I
only thing.
understand that, yeah.
So, and Vice
But
President,
I don't know if all the 623 are building things, that's why I'm just saying I'm concerned about this package of money that we're spending.
well, Vice President, thank you, for asking the questions, and that allows us to clarify not the federal funding. Of course, we can only speak to this particular item during this business, but, those are the type of questions that need to be asked during these type of presentations, and as you can see, at least for this particular item that we're discussing, it's not federal, it's GRT, so it can stay there. But I would ask the board to consider the fact of not doing it and the safety for the district itself. And so,
Well, yeah, we don't worry, we try to consider all sides of the issue.
Let me ask you, Ms. Maestas, real quick in regards to if we allowed our GRT to build, we had this sum in the bank and we weren't spending it. There, in the past, there's been these cash sweeps. Can PD come in and take our GRT or?
President Flores, the money that is sitting there, we actually don't even have it. It's being held at the county because it's gross receipts. So we have to ask permission to use it. So it's not even ours. It's gaining interest on where it's sitting with the advisors with the county.
But it must be ours, because we had to show it on our audit, right?
It is ours and
Yeah.
we have it, it's
They're just
we had to
acting
ask
like our
permission to
bank.
use it, so we had to give a breakdown of projects that you're gonna be able to use it on in order for them to release the money. And so that's what this breakdown is that they've gotten together for you all, is how they're spending this money. If not, the county won't give it to you if you don't have a capital project listing.
Mhm.
And when they did the listing, they put it together, things can change and then, like I said, how they put it today, you don't have to use it for what you guys projected. If something changes and there's a need somewhere else, or emergency or whatever, you can fluctuate that. Currently, what they're presenting to you today, I believe they all sat with the superintendent. And they came to the agreement of the needs of where this thing should go, or what they felt should be.
I would also like to advise the board in this, that the reeking of the district also poses a security threat to the district as far as, again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but the opportunity for somebody who does not, or is not no longer employed with us, to the possibility of there being keys out there in our community to all of the facilities, including, well, limited to the one you're in, as Vice President Spray mentioned, this place where adults work was rekeyed. The place where we have children was not.
And I can speak to the fact that the last time that the buildings were even rekeyed to some extent was when Quentin, I forget his last name, Wood was the facilities maintenance director, and that was when I first came on board as a board member. That's 10 years ago. I think it's, I want to commend you guys for even moving forward with this. I think it's very well needed. Secretary Tru.
The need for this routine is important. Again, the safety, what Joe mentioned. But I believe the source of the money, which is the GRT, these are program funding. And they are being held. But there is a time limit as to how long you have to use them. So it is imperative that they be used and for the purposes of capital outlay and maintenance of the building. So that's what this particular GRT is for. And, but again, I think that, what Member Sprague and I and, Member Keith, as we sat in on the meeting with the advisory meeting at UNM, it was they're proceeding with caution. Be it our general fund, the monies that are being utilized, it's really important that we just are not frivolous in how we use these monies. But if they mean the security and safety of our staff and our children, those are other issues that are held at a different standard. But again, I mentioned the recession of 2008, and again, the finance director there also agreed that they immediately halted the budget. And again, I did the same thing at the county, not knowing where it was going to take us. And so I think it's important enough and imperative enough for us to be diligent in how we spend our resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Alipe, I want to make it clear, I'm not questioning you, and if you think something's necessary, I have full faith in you. I just did want to bring up the sobering conversation that we heard a few days ago.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's important for the conversation. Absolutely.
Superintendent, do we have recommendation?
Actually, Board President Flores, Vice President Sprague, members of the board, I do have a recommendation. However, the board recommendation is not only to proceed with this, but also to continue with an informational item, just as we did the last time, because of the tariff differences. I want to make sure we provide that transparency to our constituents and our community that, as the tariffs are fluctuating, once we lock the prices, at the next board meeting, we can bring back the actual tariff differences that we locked down. So I will recommend the approval of the proposal of Ricky for the entire district facilities by Overhead Door Company of Albuquerque in the current amount of $187,115.31, with an informational item at the next board meeting for any tariff price differences to be reported to the board.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent, but I just have one quick question for either Mr. Herrera or you, Mr. Mondragon. What is the process for assigning keys or handing out keys? And currently we just paid for some, what is it, key control or the card access control, so staff can access our buildings through certain doors with their card, and not everybody's gonna be getting keys, correct?
Correct. That is the overall goal, is to not have to have the staff have actual keys to the building where they would have their card reader key to the building. However, the interior doors still do need physical keys, as teachers need to go to bathrooms. They have to be able to access their own classroom.
Storage
and access control for each of those would be, I would agree with Vice President Sprague, would be a little too much for the district at this point to handle.
And you want to get definitely like a storage room where you have stuff stored, you come back and there's 3 items missing, you're like, they were just here last week and I'm supposed to be the one with the key to this storage room, where do they go?
And we're also talking in multiple buildings. There's no reason a person that say works at one building should have keys that open another building. And that has been some past practices, but our practices now is we definitely have keys that are signed out. Our principals and our site administrators all follow the same process of signing out the keys, collecting the keys. And then our new process for the checkout that Dr. Layton has had been working on, it takes it a step further to where you will be withheld until all directors have signed off from the site supervisor to where everything the district has put out has come back to the district, all assets.
Including my signature as the final signature.
Thank you, President Forrest. When someone leaves and they have a key card, the kind that hangs on it, can you just disable that
Absolutely.
yourselves?
Yes,
You don't
ma'am.
have to bother getting that back.
No, ma'am.
You have an ability to do
It's a
that.
click of the button for Mr. Trujillo to actually erase anybody's credential.
I have a quick question. So when I happened to be the facility director at Taos County, when they moved into the new courthouse, the contractor gave us a certain number of keys for every room, like this key box, and they were all labeled. So we had like 7 keys for this closet door, 3 keys for this. It just varied. When we gave them out, we signed out the keys and kept count. I'm sure that's a practice or some form of practice you guys would do.
The first time we were able to do it.
Part of this quote is actually gonna be coming up with a plan for each school, a hierarchy as far as.
Master key
Who
system.
gets a master, a school master, sub-masters.
Okay.
It's gonna be a whole big plan that we're gonna have to meet with.
It's a
each
master
school
key
to-
system, great.
Exactly,
Because one key, like for you gentlemen, you could go in and open every door
right.
versus you would assign a Mr. Superintendent just the key to his door per se.
In his bathroom.
And currently, we've got such a mix and match of cores that you gotta carry 5 different keys in like. To get in. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Let's see them all. No, I just-
So,
Everybody took out their keys on that one.
yeah, and it shouldn't be that way.
All right.
We should have a system in place and that's what we're working towards.
And do you promise you'll stay till the whole job's done?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna actually try to get this done over the summer as well.
Good, that's what I figured.
I think it's a great improvement, long overdue. Safety, security at the forefront. We have a recommendation from our superintendent. Would any member of the board like to entertain a motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve, rekeying every door locked in the district by Overhead Door Company of Albuquerque in the amount of $187,115.31. And when the tariff, as superintendent said, when we we'll make the adjustment for next board meeting at the final number.
Thank you, Board Member King. We'll have a second.
I'll second.
Have a second from Secretary Trujillo.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Sprague,
Yes,
President Flores.
Yes. Item 13.5, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of proposal for replacement and repairs of doors, locks, and hardware at Ratchet Elementary School by Overhead Door Company of Albuquerque in the amount of $63,749.14.
This is different from the previous item. This is actually hardware. These are hinges, doors that are broken, door frames, that type of item. However, this item, I'd like to possibly, if we could have a discussion about moving it also forward to our next meeting. This item, the tariff costs on this went ridiculously high. They ballooned, and this price that you see on here isn't even close to what the quote that they're working on is. This stuff is just.
so it
very
goes,
fluid.
they're all going up and
It's-
down all the
Yeah,
time.
but right now it went up considerably, so this one is not even close, I don't think,
So we can do this next time it goes down, you'll let us know?
well,
Is
it's
that
not
what
gonna
you're
go down. I'm telling you that right now, but I think by next meeting, I will have a better number than this to give you guys. I wanna.
The request would be to approve the expenditure. But at the next meeting, for the record, identify
An information,
the amount.
yes.
Now I have a question, and not to say anything about Overhead Door Company, but a company like this that is saying, because of tariffs we're raising, is there items like this, are time sensitive, we're trying to move forward with these improvements, don't want to hold up the process. Is there any way that you guys have gotten maybe other quotes from other people, or kind of just make sure that they're not jockeying us around with the.
Well, this is like, these are actually, every vendor on here is a CES vendor, so they are going through the, CES oversees their pricing. They can't with that CS contract, they can't mess around, or they do stand a chance of losing their contract, so.
Good answer, yeah.
Yeah,
That clears.
CS will definitely keep an eye on that type of behavior, so.
Okay, sounds good. Superintendent, any questions, Board Member King?
Yeah, Olympia, we, with our forensic audit, CES is not as guaranteed.
Member King, there's certain items that we cannot,
Okay.
necessarily mention.
Scratch the last thing you just
Well, the
said.
history of, in regards to CES is not 100%. So I don't know if you
Right.
could talk to them and go, hey, is there anyone else that you would recommend between us? You follow me? Overhead door. I know, this company has been around a long time, growing up as a kid, they were in the Midwest. So they have different franchises, but like President Mark says, it's not the only.
Does CES do 3 quotes and do the normal?
They don't, they've actually already vetted these contractors and they've locked in their pricing, but with some of these items are proprietary. Some of these locks, some of these cores are proprietary items. So we're currently using the best, which is the EST brand of locks up on our doors. They're small format interchangeable cores that you can switch in and out.
They're not cheap.
They're not cheap. No, they're not cheap. It's commercial, it's commercial,
Right.
yeah, so
What is the number, Olympia ballpark?
the number of,
The number. Yeah, this number.
That this
the-
represents.
Yeah, just ballpark, we're not gonna jump out.
Oh, no, so, yeah, we're probably, my best guess is gonna be, we're probably looking at $80,000 by now.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much is that roughly per door?
But it's not just doors, it's hardware, it's different, just different. Some doors are better than others, some,
How much does it do, just a ballpark of if, let's say you have a fresh door and you need to outfit the whole thing, what's that like?
Oh, you're looking at pretty expensive, like if it's a solid metal door, and you're
Yeah.
looking at a panic bar, the panic bar itself, those things run like $1,200 for the
Okay.
panic
doors
bar.
are fire rated, so they
And the
are.
door itself, it can run like 2,000.
Probably a $2,000 door with another $1,000 of the hardware.
Okay, thank you.
If you were to put like a whole new metal door with a panic bar and rekit, you're looking at probably like $3,000 for one metal door.
Thank you. I had no idea. Thank you.
Yeah, it's commercial, it's commercial items, that's. And you're down by.
It's commercial grade, yeah.
Okay, Superintendent,
Yeesh.
your recommendation?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, I recommend approval of the proposal for replacement of and repairs of doors, locks, and hardware at Rancho Elementary School by Overhead Door Company of Albuquerque in the current amount of $63,749.14 as presented by Maintenance Supervisor Lipio Mondragon with the informational item at the cost difference based on the tariff changes at the next board meeting.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the expenditure of $63,749 to be reassessed at the next meeting for the replacement and repairs of doors, locks, and hardware at Rancho Elementary School by Overhead Door Company as recommended by Superintendent Layton. Get a second,
Well, second.
a second from Secretary Trujillo.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Sprague,
I have to vote yes because it's your school.
You don't have to.
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Item 13.6, discussion, consideration, possible approval of proposal for replacement of 8 countertops and sinks at Arroyo del Norte Elementary School by Facility Build Incorporated in the amount of $45,904.21. Mr. Alipio Mondragon.
Thank you, President Flores, Superintendent Layton, and members of the board. This is, we get, at Arroyo Elementary, currently we have counters and sinks in each cluster, each classroom. These counters were put in there when the school was built, and what's happened is they've absorbed water from the sinks. Some of them had drinking fountains in them, and just over the years, the wood has swollen to the point where the laminate's coming off, the doors are, cabinet doors are coming off. The counters are in just really bad shape, and it's been one of the items we've actually been looking at doing for quite a while. So this would be a great improvement with classrooms for the teachers. You know, they would get their sinks back, their water back in their classrooms. Right now, stuff is falling apart and they're addressing it.
Questions, comments on the board?
Yeah, I have a question. It just seems like to me, I know a lot of things that we go out and we get quotes ourselves for them. I'm hoping that these are no higher than the lowest quote that we could have gotten if we'd done the quote process ourselves. On some of these things that aren't really health or safety things, like the Parkfield, what is it?
The irrigation.
Irrigation system and stuff.
When we get to that.
Some of these things, I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
it
That
would be
one we
great
actually
to
did.
spend some time to make sure we get the best price possible.
So I have, just to allude off of, piggyback off Vice President Spray's comment. So I'm very familiar with like CES and the cooperative agreements that they have out there that allow school districts or government agencies, state contracts to go out and get services without having to go through the bid process. One of the things that I think that we need to, and I just actually came back from a conference, a NALEO conference, in Los Angeles, and they were talking about government agencies spending our money locally. I understand that you guys have already gone through the work and have some contractors lined up for these projects. But one of the things that I would like to ask of the district and try to ensure is that, are we seeking out and it's more time consuming, right? You're gonna have to go out there, develop the scope of work, reach out to a couple contractors locally, see if they want to bid on it. Not everybody wants to bid on them. Some of the quality of the work, sometimes with all due respect from our local contractors, could be questionable. With all due respect to them, you know, whoever they may be, but what is our thought process on trying to engage local contractors for some of this work?
You know, I've actually approached some of the local contractors to do some of like electricals, for example. There's local electricians, you know, a ton of them. A lot of them don't want to work on through a PO system. They like cash. You know, they don't want to wait, you know, 30 days or whatever for their money. They don't want to do, you know, wait for quotes, wait for everything. The process to them just is, you know, it's
Too extensive.
yeah, it's too extensive. They just like to go out and they can make more money, you know, doing 3 jobs by the time we give them 1 job. Yeah, so.
So if I could, I don't want to slow down the process on this and beat up the subject. We've got a few more to go through. If I would just like to encourage our facilities department to, you know, try to engage local contractors. In a lot of small communities, the school district with the funding that comes in, we are a lifeblood for a lot of, we can be for small businesses. And a lot of these contractors, I know they work like Facility Build, they're a big company based out of Albuquerque, probably have other locations in other states. If we could try to spend our money, obviously we want to get the best quality work that we can, the best price that we can. But you know, we want to try to spend our money as local.
Yeah, no, I agree.
When possible, you know.
I have no problem. It's, the bigger jobs like this are a little harder, but we could, you know, we do have enough smaller type jobs.
And maybe on your downtime, when you're not too busy, Mr. Mondragon, maybe you could reach out to some contractors and say, hey, you know, in the future, if we have some projects, would you be interested in doing some work for the schools and maybe already develop a list?
Right.
And then when things come up, you could give them a call.
Yeah.
My comment could be that we have to have a process in finance to be able to expedite these type of expenditures so that they are not having to wait. I remember that in my experience, I had the same issue at Taos County. And I said, you bring me the bill. I'll expedite the payment. Again, making sure that everything was there to be, to support that invoice and it was paid. The process, again, we cannot encumber the processes because we could, our community could benefit from these type of work projects that are being generated by the school. And, so again, it's something to think about and look at,
Yeah.
because that's procurement.
Oh, it is. One of the benefits that we also have with CES is they stand behind the contractor's work. If something goes wrong, we have them to help us, remediate that.
And to that, we never hired anyone that didn't have a service contract. That was part of procurement. That again, they warranted their work. They could not subcontract with anybody else. There was, and I believe that, our attorneys could drop something that would, protect them and us.
Right, yeah, we have to make sure all the licensing, the
Mhm,
bond,
the license,
everything's
everything.
in place, exactly. So,
And again, that they're paying their taxes. Again, that might be an issue, with some that,
right.
we have to pay the services and the taxes separately, so that the procurement notes that we are not only paying for the services, but the GRTs that are required by law to protect us. We can't give them a blanket price, price and then think that they paid the taxes, but we have documentation that shows that we paid them not just for services, but the GRT.
Okay, any further questions, comments?
And actually, yeah, I do, President Mark. Mr. Mondragon, with things uncertain, maybe it's not as much work, maybe they, we do want to help out our community. These guys went to Taos, we came through our school, so if they can get a little, action, then as board member Susan said, hey, work's done, and you don't pay people until work's done. You pay them, there's no recourse. You don't see them anymore.
We don't pay,
Yeah.
services surrendered anyway.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I think that if there's, some revenue, and we'll see how this all plays out. We're all question mark for everyone right now, but it would be nice to local hands,
Well, Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, recommend approval of the proposal for replacement of the 8 countertops and sinks at Arroyos del Norte Elementary School by facility building in the amount of $45,904.21 as presented by Maintenance Supervisor Alipio Mondragon.
We have a recommendation for the superintendent. Would any of the board like to make the motion for approval?
I'll make a motion. That's just 13.4?
13.7, sir.
13.7.
Actually, no, 13.6, sorry, 13.6.
Okay. Approval for replacement of 8 countertops and sinks at Arroyos del Norte Elementary School by Facility Bill Inc. in the amount of $45,904.21.
I'll second it because it's my school. I'll second it.
Call for the roll, Madam Clerk.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Sprague.
Yep.
President Flores.
Yes, okay, 13.7, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of a proposal for installation of new irrigation system, Par Field at the Taos Municipal School District Administration Complex by AAA Restoration and Construction Services Incorporated in the amount of $78,777.65. Mr. Alipio Mondragon.
So this, our field, it's got new irrigation. Our system of irrigation right now is we drag hoses and sprinklers around, run the water 24/7 because we're just watering most sections. This would give us a zoned irrigation. We could use timers, it'll be, an automated system. We don't have to worry about it, being out there, because this one does take a lot of manpower. We're having to move the sprinklers 2 to 3 times a day, so whatever we're doing, we stop, send one of the guys over. I just shut them off when I got here, because we're doing a field day right tomorrow, so we need to have it done. But we've never had irrigation there. It's always been kind of hit and miss. Some years we almost lost it one year, so this is something that's kind of important. The other thing about Park Field is we've got a lot of traffic that drives by it. It's kind of it's a lot of people see that as part of Taos Municipal Schools, and it's a reflection of who we are, because there's a lot of eyes on it as people go by. So if it starts to turn brown, we get calls.
Vice President.
Thank you, President Flores. Aren't you glad I'm here tonight? Yeah.
And this one,
Since
I
you've
will
been
tell you,
here,
I
we've
will-
almost lost that field since you've been here, no.
A couple of years ago, we always did.
And I just want to compliment you, it always looks really nice. I've never seen it not look nice since you've been here,
But
never.
this is us coming out on weekends as well to move that water.
Don't you like doing that? Well, and the thing about it being highly visible, there are some other things, 3 I can think of that make this building look better and they're highly visible. Dr. Layton knows what I'm talking about. So maybe I'll make a deal with you.
There are 2 deals.
Yeah, we'd have to go with what's people.
Yeah, I know, but we'll make a deal afterwards in your office.
Okay. So basically, this is just an irrigation system that's been long overdue for.
And who's
for
gonna do
this-
that?
This will be AAA Restoration and Constructions. They're out of Santa Fe as well. And let me just tell you about this. We did get quotes. Last year, we had some quotes from some other vendors that were over 100,000 for this same project. So this was actually a really good deal when we got the quote for this amount. We've been looking at this for several years. And
Are we gonna is there a prairie dog thing under here too? In this
No,
pile?
but actually, this will help. We do have a little bit of prairie dog issues on the field.
Here?
So the water helps. Yes, the water definitely helps, keeping it green. We do have activities out there, so.
Just so you know, I don't argue with your brother about my maintenance on my car or anything, my bill with my car.
So there's an old acequia that comes, they used to run through Kit Carson Park and through Martyrs
Right,
Lane, and they used to
Right.
go this way and irrigate Parkfield. Let's restore the acequia. and-
it did.
Still have the right.
No.
It still does go by Martyrs.
Yeah, there's an old ditch there. They used to go to the Dunn parking lot.
That's right.
Yeah. But that's a whole nother discussion. Let's stick to the topic.
That'd be a lot smarter. Maybe we could use that 80 grand to fix that and think, yeah, and open it up.
Any
Don't you-
questions
aren't you
regarding
so
this?
Glad I came tonight.
I think this is long overdue. Also, this is
Yes.
moving into the
Yes.
future, moving forward. It's gonna have to be done sometime. We're gonna lose that grass. It's gonna
Oh, my God.
turn into a prairie dog,
Amen.
Oasis.
oasis. Yeah, so, Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, I recommend approval of the proposal for installation of new irrigation system for Park Field at the TMSD Administration Complex by AAA Restoration and Construction Services in the amount of $78,777 with 65 cents as presented by Maintenance Supervisor Nikhil Mondragon.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation by Superintendent Leyen for the new irrigation system for Park Field at the administration complex to be done by AAA Restoration and Construction Services for the amount of $78,777.65.
Second,
Got a second from Board Member King.
Board Member King,
yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Spray,
I may have to abstain on one of them, so it's gonna be this one.
President Flores.
Yes. Okay, 13.8, discussion, consideration, possible approval of proposal for repairs to parapets and front facade stucco at the Taos Municipal School District Administration Building by Weatherproofing Technologies in the amount of $41,253.07. Mr. Alipio Mondragon, Maintenance Supervisor.
Thank you, President Flores, Superintendent Layton, and members of the board. This consideration here is for actually the ceiling right above us and right above the superintendent's office. We have severe cracking in the parapet. Some areas we have 3-inch separation. You know, it's again, we're lucky we had a dry year because water's, you know, we've had water getting in there for the past few years and it's getting wider and it's separating around the entire parapet that goes down the other offices down the hall, but it's worst over his office. What's gonna happen is we're gonna start getting bubbling and bleeding inside. This is to repair the parapet, repair and re-stucco the entire surface around the interior of this part of the building. They will also reseal where the TPO comes up and ties into the parapet. So everything's gonna be sealed up. One other item they're gonna do here is they are gonna stucco the front of the front face of that building right up to the entry door. So the lettering up there that says Taos Elementary.
Enos Garcia.
Enos Garcia will be removed at that point.
Okay.
Enos Garcia East, yes, and they will fix it, so you never know it was there.
Questions? Member King?
Is this being done locally? I didn't see the,
This is done by Weather, WTI, they're the same vendor, the
That's
same
Weather
guys that are
Roofing.
gonna be doing the roof at Rancho's Gym.
that's the technology. Okay.
Right, yes. And this work will have a 10-year warranty on materials.
Superintendent Layton, you have a recommendation?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, recommend approval of proposal for repairs and parapets on front facade stucco at the TMSD Administration Building by Weatherproofing Technologies, Inc. in the amount of $41,253.07, as presented by Maintenance Supervisor Lippy Mondragon.
I'll make a motion to approve the parapet repairs and front facade stucco at the administration building to be done by Weatherproof Technologies in the amount of $41,253.07, as recommended by Superintendent Layton.
I'll second it.
We have a second from Vice President.
Board Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo.
Yes.
Vice President Sprague,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. 13.9, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of proposal for asphalt crack sealing of the parking lots at Rancho Elementary, Rosal North Elementary, Enos Garcia Elementary, and Taos Middle School by American Pavement Preservation in the amount of $39,147. Mr. Mondragon.
President Flores, Superintendent Layton, members of the board. This is preventive maintenance, basically. This is something that we should be doing every year. Our asphalt at these schools is in decent shape, but we do have severe cracking. What's happening is we're getting moisture in there. It's gonna get worse. We're gonna get potholes and it's gonna start crumbling if we don't start treating it. As far as I can see, this has never happened. We don't have any signs of it ever being crack sealed before, so this is very important for us to save that asphalt, so we don't end up with something like we have out here, crumbling asphalt. Yeah. So these are the schools where we have asphalt that we can still, we can still save. Some of the other schools are beyond that, so that's going to require more extensive repair. But this will help us preserve this aspect. And this we should probably be doing every year, every other year. So it's an ongoing process. It's preventive maintenance.
Preventive maintenance is key.
Yep, even I preventive maintenance.
Asphalt's expensive. We have to, if it gets worse, we're having to repave that stuff. We're gonna look at triple this.
Absolutely.
Questions, comments? No. Superintendent?
Oh, I had a question in that. In the proposal, it said $7,500 for a project manager. Why is there? I didn't understand that.
That's probably
That might be their supervisor.
their superintendent.
Yeah, that's gonna come up, their jobs, that's gonna come up and. Once they see the crews, yeah, I don't know.
Not this superintendent, another one.
Not this one. Good. We're not letting him out of the building. All right, I just thought I wondered why that wasn't just included in the, it
They-
just seemed like a
yeah,
word
they
breakout to me.
they break them out differently.
All right.
Contractors do that.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I've got proposals from various contractors too, and they'll identify like the lead guy and the
Second
apprentice
guy.
and the superintendent. and so forth.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
What it is there. Superintendent Lane, do you have a recommendation?
Board President, Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, recommend approval of proposal for asphalt crack sealing of the parking lots at Ranchos Elementary, Arroyos del Norte Elementary, Enos Garcia Elementary, and Taos Middle School by American Pavement Preservation in the amount of $39,147 as presented by Maintenance Supervisor, Lipio Mondragon for his last one of the evening.
Aren't you gonna be happy to leave?
We have a recommendation of the superintendent. Would any member of the board like to make a motion for approval? Not, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve item 13.9, asphalt crack sealing of the parking lots at Ranchos Elementary, Arroyos, Enos, and Taos Middle School by American Pavement Preservation in the amount of $39,147 as recommended by Superintendent Layton and presented.
That would be, yeah, I'd be proud to second it.
Go for it.
Thank you. I'd love to second it.
Okay, we got the second from Vice President Spray.
Thank you.
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo?
Yes.
Vice President Sprague?
Yeah.
President Flores?
Yes. Okay, 13.10, discussion. Thank you, Mr. Mondragon.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Discussion, consideration, and possible approval for Sharp Video Media Board at Taos High School Gymnasium in the amount of $92,465.52. Maria Gentet, Director of IT and Communication, and Mr. Johnny O'Gean, Interim Athletic Director.
Good evening, President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, Dr. Layton, colleagues. Tonight I seek approval for a multimedia video board at Taos High School Gymnasium. The educational instructional benefits for our students are hands-on experience in graphic design, content creation, video editing, animation, multimedia broadcasting. Students and staff will have the ability to showcase student work in real time, making learning visible and engaging. For the assemblies and ceremonies, this board will give visual enhancement for events such as Title I night, T1 night, and many more. It will also have high quality backdrop for keynote speakers, award presentations, and student performances. The district will also utilize this board for professional development and presentations as an added backdrop for district-wide trainings, staff development, and administrative announcements. We are also planning to use it for community engagement, where we can broadcast and promote community events, student showcases, and cultural celebrations. The technical and visual impact for students and staff will be, it provides a professional backdrop that enhances the visual quality of every event and supports the district's commitment to the 21st century learning environments and technology forward initiatives. For Mr. O'Gean, he's going to go ahead and speak how this will enhance game day experience and generate revenue. And after that, we have a short demo so you guys can actually see the software, what it's about.
Superintendent, distinguished board, been a while, good to see you.
Good to see you too, sir.
I guess having been there this year and watching the experience of the fans, I would just give you numbers, Ms. Trio, because I know your numbers. We made $65,000 in ticket sales this year. And you'd be surprised that men's and women's basketball were 50% of that gross. So football only bringing in 14,000, and the rest of the sports are kind of scattered in there with the low digits. So basketball is our main revenue earner. As you look up in there and you're standing there, you see the banners falling down and they're kind of rattled, and the student section's kind of falling out. No one's really around there, but we still getting fans. So my experience at the college level, that's what it was all about. And I have this vision of these guys being introduced and these women with the spotlight on them. And then the board with them coming out, also sponsorship. It allows us to do commercials. So if we get 5 sponsors at a set amount, then we can make $50,000 a year off of that board. Now, of course, that is the gamble. I have to go out there and get these sponsors with the help of the community. Once we do that, it's a passive income, and I'm all about passive income. So we could pay for that board within 2 years if we do it right. It also could be used as a training tool for PE classes. If you walk through there now, PE is kind of a dying class curriculum. If you walk in there now, you see them with the Promethean boards set up on the court, having the kids do yoga, having them do some type of activity. This will add to that. Miss Tejeda, the principal, she's giving a lecture or she's giving some kind of a presentation. She could stand up there and she can have her face up there and she could really get that message across that she's trying to do. We're the Tingley Coliseum of Taos, New Mexico, basically, in my opinion, because everybody wants to use our facilities. So most of my time is spent finding out who's going to be able to use it, whether it's Kit Carson Electric, whether it's community relations, it could be anything and everything. This will add to that. So now we have something that they can use and we can charge them to use if they're within our community and they're showing what they want to do in their setting. Mariachi has one this next weekend. There's basketball tournaments in there, youth basketball. So all these things can be used as revenue tools. Any questions on that? Anything I could add to it?
I think it's a great initiative, really thinking outside the box. Definitely long overdue too as well. I mean, these things cost money, but I like the idea that you utilized our principal talking to the whole student body, you know, it's up there, you know, they don't really have to maybe look at her, they could see her up there.
Vocational setting, Flex Fridays, we could use the yearbook staff and other entities within the school to manage it. So on Friday, they could do graphic designs, they could be part of building the different kinds of commercials. There was another one here.
Coach O'Gate, if I may, President Flores, Vice President, I believe part of the presentation there shows what it would look like.
Digital media arts, something like that, huh?
Yeah, digital arts yearbook, we're trying to get them involved, so that would be their Friday flex.
And Jesse Thompson, I talked to Jesse Thompson, this will be part of his computer classes for the kids to go ahead and design the graphics for the board.
Cool. Presentation.
Yeah, we would love to.
Sharp, we're gonna bring in our
Richard.
Richard Martinez.
Dr. Layton. I'm Richard Martinez with Sharp. Thank you guys for having us here. We wanted to give you a brief presentation on our technology, kind of show you some of the things that it could do. We'll have my partner, Brett from ScoreVision on the line. That's the software that operates the technology that displays itself for Sharp boards, direct from manufacturers. So we support that. So go ahead, Brett, I'll let you have the wheel.
I hope we didn't put
I'll mute myself, and thank you all for the time. Good evening, everyone, and I appreciate you letting me spend a few minutes with you and showing you most specifically ScoreVision, who I am the director for. I'm based in Denver, Colorado. I've been with ScoreVision for going on 9 years now, so I've seen us go from about 6 customers in 2016 to now well over 700 internationally across the country. Also a good number in New Mexico as well. Customers of ours in New Mexico are Farmington High School, Piedra Vista there in town as well, New Mexico Highlands University, as well as Roswell High School. So we developed a nice presence in the area, and I can go ahead and share my screen with you here, and I will better explain to you essentially what the software is and does to help you utilize this as a tool across campus and not just cool scoreboards for my athletes. So do you all now see my screen that says Taos High School conceptual design document?
Yes.
Beautiful. So I'll walk through just a couple of slides here. I'll try and be as concise as possible. I know that you all have places to go and people to see. So with the ScoreVision software, the LED provided by Sharp is essentially a blank slate. So Sharp will take care of the actual installation of the actual screens themselves. They'll do the support and the service on the screens ongoing. The ScoreVision piece is how you actually use the video display. displays, right? So it's something as simple as how you turn the video board on with a simple iPad, to how I keep score for basketball games, volleyball, etc., and how I produce content and show media clips on the video board and then use it daily for any events you may host in your facility. So the display will be completely customized. So this can be, again, replacing your need for scoreboards completely, where I have points and fouls here for basketball, obviously time components as well. If I want to add on leaderboards to recognize each player for their particular points in a basketball game, I can go ahead and have those on the left and right hand sides of the screen here. And then as we walk along here, it will correlate for each sport, right? So it's going to look really good for basketball, for volleyball, and for wrestling as well. For instance, for volleyball, you'll have the ability to do aces, kills, and blocks if you want to assign those stats. So the general point of ScoreVision is to be as simple as you'd like. We have elementary schools that use our software on their TVs or video screens, or as complex and professional level as you can make it as well in the classroom, right? With students taking a good role in this as well. So it can be as simple as handing the iPad to keep score to a volunteer mom or dad, or it can be dressed up for your Friday night, basketball games, etc. So this would be generally what it would look like in your facility. If you can see that there. This is just a general size rendering of 12 foot wide and 7 foot tall as far as the actual display on that particular wall. And then here's our traditional scoreboard in its place now. And then there would be a video screen in its place. Again, during gameplay, it'll be customized and branded towards the Taos Tigers branding. You can also change that whenever you'd like to recognize pink outs or white outs or themed events you may be having different games for. This is all controlled through 2 iPads, essentially. The first iPad is called our Scorekeeper app. This replaces your traditional tabletop Scorekeeper that you've been using for decades. This will now be done on an iPad for each of my different sports. The second iPad will then be our Producer app. That's how I can actually produce content. It looks like this on my actual video board to show different hype clips and different things. Like let's make some noise. Here's my little simulator here. I can do different things like the howling wolf or tiger here on my video screen, excuse me. And I'll do it in. So now it still shows our score on the actual screen, and now it can allow me to trigger different things like in-game content, quicks, let's make some noise animations, etc. I can also play a live stream or showcase highlights in that same manner with a 3-pointer or a dunk. All of this is done via simple iPhone and iPad technology. Let me hop back in here. And as we move along here, again, there's different layouts you can use if you want to start pushing live video to show the band at halftime or the dance team or the cheerleading squad. There's different layouts that are provided to you as well within this. Last couple of slides here would be ScoreVision Capture. So with ScoreVision software suite, you're able to actually send highlights and replay to your video board by simply using cell phones or iPads. I can show a dunk, or I can show my 5 clips from my first half of my my highlights to my audience and my fans in the stands. This will also correlate with a fan app. So since ScoreVision is a cloud-based technology, you're able to, when you're keeping score on your iPad, that data will automatically feed to a fan app, which is a free download for mom and dad, grandpa and grandma, whoever can't make your actual game in your gym. They can download the app on their smartphone, follow the Taos Tigers High School, and they're able to then see what's happening in your gym live as it's happening. So it's also kind of a one-stop shop for your athletes. The nice thing about the fan app is that if your baseball team wants to use it, if the softball team, tennis team, whatever sports that may not have video in their facility, they could travel with this or take this to the baseball field or softball diamond and use it as well and feed that fan app for fans that can't make those games and if they don't have an already sport-specific app as well. So within that, you also have outside of sports, right? This is meant through the software to be used as a tool for my campus and not just a great scoreboard opportunity, right? So within that, we see these used every day across the country for things like Huddle film review. I know that Taos High School has a Huddle account. You're able to show, you're actually able to show scout film, review game film on your video board in the gym wirelessly from a simple iPad for that as well. And then things like pep rallies, assemblies, all the things you'd mentioned before. All of those can be simple plug and play on the video screen to utilize it every day, essentially, for your need. Also, Maria had mentioned the potential to have this as a classroom use. So a wide range of our schools are using this as a CTE opportunity. In-school technology students can actually use what we call ScoreVision Academy. It's something we've built over the years that allows our schools to help implement this in the classroom. So it is not state educational blessed curriculum per se, but it helps your faculty and your teachers be able to have students control most of this from start to finish, where they're developing graphics, they can create game day scripts, all with our learning labs online in the classroom to help them really kind of own this process. So lastly, I'll share a quick video with you that just kind of shows what this looks like in an actual game setting. So here's my video here. I just happened to be at a game, my wife coached at this school, and I happened to be at a game. I pulled my cell phone out and started filming it. This is in Omaha, Nebraska, where ScoreVision is based out of. But this kind of shows you what it looks like in the wild. So here we go.
We're not seeing your video.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Let's see here. Let me rewind it here, and I'll do another quick share. My last share of the evening, and how about now? Do you see the basketball court there?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, this just shows you what it actually looks like. So on the display, as Johnny had mentioned, you have the advertising branding built in there where I can take my old banners down, get rid of my NASCAR wall, and implement those into the video section. That way your sponsors can have customizable ad content and send you fresh advertisements versus printing up a banner each year. But this just shows you kind of what the displays look like in real time. So with that, I appreciate all this time. I'll turn it back over to Richard for some closing remarks. But if any questions, by all means, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have as it comes to actually using the video displays for a wide range of things.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time and your presentation.
Just a quick couple of follow-ups. All our pricing includes training. We're an end-to-end solution. We will come in, we'll do the install. We'll work with our partners on the training, make sure your staff, students, whoever's going to be operating that will have training on the product, be able to use it in many factors. We'll be there to help you along the way. I'll even help John do the pitch to some of your potential sponsors. There's a lot of great things, a lot of potential with technology like this in so many different aspects. So any questions that we can answer for you?
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Does the board have any questions, comments? I'm gonna miss the old scoreboard.
We're gonna keep it for a backup for now.
Yeah.
All right.
Till we realize nobody's looking at it again.
It's like it's a relic. It definitely goes to the building.
I just have a comment. I think that we're just taking this go to a different level, including our sports, including the information that's out there and through the technology that is available.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I had just one question, and it's not negative, I promise. The ED technology, tell me about that fund.
It's the ed technology.
Yeah,
We
right.
go out, that's the one that we go out for a bond every 3 years. So
So it's
I have money in there because during our Vanessa monies, I got spoiled. The different programs bought us devices. So I had a little bit of a cushion in there, and then I'm able to use this.
nice to see how good saving is. It's good, isn't it?
That's a smart.
Thank you, Smart.
So if we're able to recoup some of that money back, or would it be deposited into them?
So
Cause it can't go back into that.
There
because
is
this
a
special purpose.
yearly maintenance cost.
Oh,
I did speak with Mr. Obin. He is going to cover the sports piece of that cost. And I'm gonna cover the software piece. So every year he is gonna have to cover a portion of that cost. This year it's included. The following year, I think, I look here what it is yearly.
President Flores, Vice President, members of the board.
It's 10,000 yearly, And athletics will go ahead and cover a portion of that cost.
And in many discussions with Coach Olguin and Mr. Ted, this is gonna allow us some flexibility in how the revenue is generated, and how it comes back to the school. So we can focus on maybe some of the activities, some of the sports programs. The thing is that we, by generating revenue, now we have something that we can provide directly to the students or the programs.
So it would go back into the athletic department for maintenance costs and for other
Correct.
Other areas. that we can-
Others.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're it's $10,325 a year to keep this software. So the piece that I could go ahead and keep under contract for the video warranty is around $2,800. Mr. O'Gean said that he would come up with the rest from from his ads and different things, correct?
Yeah, just our athletic activity, but yeah.
I just have a quick question. This is reminding me of a question I've had for a while. How are we doing with activity buses?
Well, so of course, this would be a different discussion.
I know it is, but I just am curious
Yeah,
about that.
so we're going back to capital outlay. We just received $300,000 for a new
Right.
capital outlay.
And that
So,
was for an activity bus?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
How does that leave the buses?
Huh? Well, no, it's because I know that we've had trouble with that. And I'm just watching, there's a big picture on money here for me, you know, I think globally on it.
I guess I stand for questions. And Richard, that part for me.
My only comment is if we could incorporate this into, as much of the educational programming as possible, I think, when I hear the $10,000 annually, kind of a little bit, but you know, we're gonna be generating revenue through, advertisements and going out.
Streaming also, we're already, with Huddle, we pay a fee to have a Huddle account, and we have new cameras that just went up in the field and basketball that has to be focused, so it films our games. So if you have an older couple that doesn't want to go to the game, they can click $8.99 and they can watch the game at home.
Also, Brett, this also can be incorporated with our huddle, correct?
Yes, yep. So if fans are going to YouTube and streaming it that way for free on YouTube, we can incorporate the fan app with that. So that way, folks that can't make the game can actually see the game if they'd like to, first and foremost, or they can also see who has different stats, right? So like I can see my nephew has 10 points and 2 fouls for that particular game, or incorporate the actual highlight feature if your students want to film highlight, capture content, and send to the fan app as well. They can actually see that video component too. So they'll have a multitude of options to follow the program.
Thank you, sir. The other thing is, I think this could open up a lot of, the doors, you know, get creative with its use, incorporating into programming, education of the kids. I don't know, I'm sure, can it play movies maybe?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Movies, you know,
Get the kids.
newsworthy items.
Yeah.
Elected a new pope today. You could have had the kids, students there watching the live stream. I mean, there's a lot of options.
Yeah.
State tournaments, if we
The
could go
state
ahead and do
tournaments?
the viewing in the gym for,
Absolutely.
if the
That
boys,
would
state
be
boys
awesome.
basketball make it to state, we could go ahead and do the viewing in the gym now, for it.
To do a pay-per-view boxing match and charge $5 to get in.
Like, you know,
Open up the concession, let people buy popcorn, they can watch the boxing.
Mud wrestling.
Cool. All right, well, for the sake of time, thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Mr. O'Gean, Mr. Tet. Superintendent Lane, do you have a recommendation with this item?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, I recommend approval for Sharp Video Media Board at Taos High School Gym in the amount of $92,465.52 as presented by Director of IT Communications, Brilliant Ted, and Interim Athletic Director, Johnny O'Neill.
I have a recommendation for approval from Superintendent Layton on item 1310. Anybody of the board wish to make a motion for approval?
So I just have one question, sorry. So the board is gonna be about the size of the scoreboard now, or even larger?
No.
Bigger.
It's-
65.
It's 162 inches in diagonal.
Yeah, I'm looking here at the top, so that's the size.
I think it's 12 feet by 7 feet.
So would you say that's like twice the size or size and a half?
more like a size, probably a size and a half is pretty close, but the technology with our direct view LEDs, it's super bright and it's a display, so it's clear. It's,
Like that.
yeah, I mean, like that, but so many times bigger.
Right. Okay, that was just. that's it.
It's about twice as big as that, right?
Secretary Julio?
No.
It is.
No, I was
make a
gonna,
motion?
no, I don't, since he had the question.
Okay, I make, we got recommendation. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the video media board / scoreboard at Taos High Gymnasium in the amount of $92,465.52. Presented by Maria Jutet, AD Johnny O'Dean.
Got a motion, do you have a second?
I'll second.
You got a second from Secretary Trio?
Board Member King?
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo?
Yes.
Vice President Sprague? Yes. President Flores?
Yes. Item 1311, discussion consideration of possible approval of 6 LED posters for 6 sites from BSI Imaging Security Technology Solutions in the amount of $55,025. Ms. Maria Jintet, Director of IT and Communications.
So this is what you're looking at. We're looking, I would like to purchase 6 of these for each of our school sites. Right now, you're seeing athletics, but you can design it however you want. So you could design it for lunch menus, for school announcements, for alerts, for testing, anything that you guys could think is possible, you could go ahead and design it. And the cool thing with this is, I'm not gonna try it, but these panels, they go ahead and pop off. And so the 6 boards, we could go ahead and combine to make one huge 15-foot board. So for graduation, we'd be able to say, have our photos up of our students when they're going up and getting their degrees, any type of announcements. We'd be able to use this as a district, and we'd be able to use this at each of our school sites.
Cool.
I'm thinking for game days, obviously, the QR code, stand in line, get the QR code, go ahead and purchase, get your tickets, go in. I mean, just.
I like you mentioned announcements, like it says SATs
Yeah.
next Monday, reminding kids about stuff like that.
They could stay home.
You stay home, yeah.
Maria, is there a annual fee for these also?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, there's 6 of them. I would love to get a lot. But I think
Start with 6.
one,
We'll start with 6.
we'll start with 6. The principals are really excited about this, giving the announcements. I probably, there will be a lot of training involved, but I probably won't issue them out till after graduation because we would love to use them for graduation.
I have a quick question. How do you anticipate keeping those from being messed with in the school sites or vandalized?
That's going to be up to the school site principals. So luckily we have cameras. I'm sure that they will be in cameras view. I'm sure that they will be stored securely.
Because they do make you want to touch them and see.
Yeah,
I
you can
think,
touch them, and I'm not gonna do it, but you could actually pull out little panels
Yeah.
too from here and replace them when you need to.
oh, yeah,
Maybe
okay.
if they find there's a permanent home for them that's decided on at the school site, maybe there could be like a glass or plexi
Uh-huh.
glass protector designed.
We work with our principals and our site security to make sure that we put them in a very secure area. That's well taken care of. But going back to Ms. Jintet and what we've talked about with the principals is, and then again, one of the asks of the board is to help keep promoting our district. And so lunch venues going on here. We're talking about different after-school programs. We're talking about weekend programs. So this is an opportunity for us to, this is a blank slate.
Even like, sorry to interrupt you, but like mental health hotline, you know what I mean? We could have that out there, do some cycling of various notifications.
Your board agenda.
That's a really good suggestion. Hotline, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
You can
It is
also,
catchy.
live stream movies also on it, so there's another opportunity that say middle school wants to watch the state games, we could take all 6 sports to the middle school. Patch them together and they could also see the state game on something big.
Or everyone could just watch to their own at each site.
Yeah, it's kind of small though.
It's actually pretty impressive.
Isn't the quality
Just that
really
little
nice?
bit, just that, it's like, oh, wow. This is nice.
I like it.
I do too.
Okay, Superintendent, any questions, comments? Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
President Flores, Vice President Spray, members of the board, recommend approval of the 6 LED posters for 6 sites from DSI Imaging Security Technology Solutions in the amount of $55,025 as presented by Director of IT and Communications, Ms. Jintet.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'm gonna fall over and faint. I want to make a move to approve 6 LED posters for 6 sites from DSI Imaging Security Technologies and Solutions in the amount of $55,025 by Maria Gentet, Director of IT and Communications.
Do we have a second?
Well, second.
Second, from Secretary Trio, of the roll.
Member King,
Yes.
Secretary Trujillo,
Yes.
Vice President Sprague,
Yes.
President Flores.
Yes. Okay, item 14, future topics. Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Maria.
Thank you all.
I just have a question, Superintendent. I was coming into town this morning and I saw that our billboard that has our graduates is still 2024. Were we gonna get a new billboard up there?
Yes, and in fact, go right ahead and I'm gonna ask Director Safety Security Operations, Mr. Herrera, about the billboard. That's right outside the operations. We do have the
It's ordered and we're just waiting on the word for me to go pick it up, honestly. So I heard it.
Being soon, hopefully.
Yeah, Ms. Montes, placed the order, I believe, 2 weeks, I think we're on 2 weeks now. So anytime after Monday, I believe we are on our way to pick it up. It's a really nice picture. My daughter.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh.
All right, any future topics for the board to discuss?
I have 3.
Vice President Sprague.
Thank you. I would like to put on the future topics, a this 2 of them are just conversations. Conversation about a possible internal controller for a year or 2 and see if that helps us with the situation with the audit. And a conversation about investing some of the cash in the accounts that Secretary Trujillo brought up. And I would also like to request in our June meeting to have committee updates. We haven't had those in a long time. Thank you.
President Flores.
Yes, Secretary Trio, please.
To follow up on that, I think the best time to have to look at the investments would be to have a presentation at our finance at our next finance meeting with a presentation from the firm.
Cycle.
No, it's a firm that the county and the Tasman Hills is using for investment purposes. And we could have a presentation by the firm.
Okay, I'll get Superintendent their name. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Thank you, guys.
But we were talking about working with Stifel for the.
Yeah, but this is different.
For the bond.
But the bond,
For
yeah,
the-
this is not a bond
Okay.
issue or anything like
This
that.
is better
Investments.
investments with our cash.
This is an investing.
Higher routine, higher
agree.
returns.
Okay, I'll get him that name.
Did you hear that? More money. Turn around, I know, right?
I saw that. I was
Awesome.
like,
Awesome.
Superintendent, in regards to the bond election that we initially talked, we need to kind of get that moving, so maybe we can, would you be able to reach out to our Taos County treasurer and see if she could, did you just talk about a presentation from her or just be
No,
present during
No, to
his?
be present and at the same time that Stifel does a presentation and clarifies the exact,
So
what
could
it
you
is that we're going to.
reach out to Stifel and see, you think that she had a next meeting?
Yeah, be on our agenda. We gotta get that rolling.
And invite the treasurer to be present.
So with that being said, our next regular, so item 15 is upcoming Taos Municipal School Board meetings. We have a meeting scheduled for Monday, is it the 12th? To start at 3 p.m. To continue our superintendent evaluation. I wanted to talk to the board. I may be just a tad bit late, but I'm gonna do my best to get out of our town of Taos budget workshop. We have a budget workshop that day. It's supposed to end about 5 o'clock. I might be able to skip out a little bit early. I plan to be here. Just wanted to let the board know I'm gonna make every attempt to be here on time.
What time is their meeting?
The workshop starts,
Oh, it's gonna be a workshop?
yeah, it's all day.
Okay.
It's not in the evening. It's gonna be, we're hoping to get out by 3 or 4.
Okay.
Our meeting's supposed to start at 3 on Monday, though.
Mhm.
So
So,
if you're late, would you like us to start and then go over quickly with you?
Yeah, do you want to start at 3:30? You want to lay Elena know?
I think we're okay at starting at 3. I plan to be there by 3. Each department of the town house is gonna be presenting their budgets. I've already gone through all their budgets with them. This is gonna be a presentation to council, so it's primarily for council. I just want to let the board know I might be just a little bit late, but I'm not gonna miss it.
President Flores, Vice President, members of the board, just one thing I want to bring up. Earlier in the year, we approved, the board approved, excuse me, the updates to this boardroom. So from May 19th, for about 2 weeks, 10 days, the boardroom will be undergoing upgrades. And so having said that, there's a big possibility that we will be needing to have the board meeting at a different location than here, either at the high school or possibly TCA. So I just want to make the board aware of that, just so that you would know.
Is it possible for you to let us know what the updates are gonna be? Well, I don't think, have you ever gone over what your vision is beside just the stuff we approved?
Yes.
Certain things, is that still this exact same?
That's exactly what
Okay.
was Maria's presentation.
Yep, okay. If it's still in the same,
Yeah, everything's the same. It's just we're able to finally do the work.
okay, gotcha.
And for the record, our next board meeting, regular board meeting is May 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. here, but I think that's the one you're talking about relocating.
That is possible, sir, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and item 16, adjourn. So move to adjourn. All in favor?
Yay.
All right, we're out of here.
I would like that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go grab some food.
I'm gonna go get mine.
I didn't get any food. So Superintendent, I think
I know my legs are.
this needs you.
Moving uptown.
So